Welcome back to the side quest. I am Grandpa Wook, and I'm joined again, as you all know, by
Slim Yeti.
Yeah, Mr. Slim Yeti. And today we are also joined by another very special, not guest, but part of the squad. They're a new addition, and they've been doing so much already behind the scenes for the show. They've created these little sprouts for the show. I don't know if you can see it, but they've also created sprouts for C89.5, the radio station that has let us shoot. And they are also a part of Codex. They're also an artist in their own right. They do a lot of things, but I just want to introduce and shout out Radiate. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello. My name is Pranay Patel. I go by Radiate on stage. I moved out here a little less than 2 years ago now, and heard amazing things about about the Seattle rave scene. And when I got the opportunity to get out here, I just had to take it. Been blown away by everything out here, and the community, as well as in the artist scene, as well as in the actual show space in general. And yeah, excited to keep on going and keep being a friendly face here.
Yes, and we're so happy to have you, bro. And for all the work that you've done already to help curate the vibe and everything we've got, we really appreciate you, man. And with that, SideQuesters, we got a special one today. Let's roll.
Keep on rolling.
Alrighty, SideQuesters. So we do have a very special episode here today with a very special guest. We've got Makenna with us in the studio today. And yeah, it has been so cool. I first met Makenna when I actually was at C89.5 talking to Harmony, who you guys all met in the last episode, about using the space and being able to shoot here because Makenna does do a live show for the radio station. And so that's super cool. And so that's kind of how we connected, but I'm sure a lot of you guys who listen to the show already know who she is. So I just want to give her the floor to kind of talk about herself a little bit.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I forgot that we met actually a few weeks ago here as well. Because yes, I do host Beyond the Rave Fam on Mondays from 11 to 1 at C89.5. But yes, most people actually don't know me because of the radio. They know me because of my social media. So hello, everyone. My name is Makenna Schumacher. I'm a social media content creator that primarily focuses on rave education. So PLURR content, talking about the scene, harm reduction, things like that. But I also do other just random things in the community. I work for a company called White Rabbit Group promoting. So you can always hit me up for that. If you're ever at a show, I'd love to say hi. And then I help build a community that I think is the reason that I was able to actually, grow on social media. And that is called the Rave Fam. It's a community of about 800 solo, baby, and veteran ravers. Pranay over here is actually in it and helped me also build sprouts for the Rave Fam. So if you ever see me, you can always grab one or a sticker. But the Rave Fam is a community of 800 solo, baby, and veteran ravers based in the Pacific Northwest that just want to build community by solo sending more sets together, but knowing people. And that helps promote safety in the scene. It helps promote community, and it just ensures that all of us can follow PLURR in the long run.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Really cool. Yeah. But really, really cool stuff happening. And, my vision we talked about it in the last episode about solo raving and how important it is, especially how special it is in a place like here.
Oh, yeah.
In the Pacific Northwest, where, to be fair, we've got the Seattle Freeze and we've got a bunch of other things going where people just don't know. People don't know how to talk to each other. They just don't. And to solo send a rave, which I've done a few times, you've done quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've done it.
I pretty much primarily solo send.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah. So we've all had that experience, and from those experiences, it's why we're here, right? It's how I've met a lot of the people who've pushed me to do the show and how he got here and how you're here, right? Because all of these connections are connections that we've made from from solo raving.
That's so sweet.
Which is so cool. Well, I wanted to just talk a little bit more about your story. And I just wanted to, give the floor for you to share what got you into EDM in the first place, when you started raving.
Oh, yeah. All the nitty gritty details. Well, so I think most of y'all will be surprised to know that I have been listening to EDM my whole life. That is something I'd like to flag. My dad used to love new wave music. So if you think about it, that's the first gen of house music in the 1980s. So Grew up listening actually not only to C89.5 because of Save the Wave, that's been on the station for forever, but mostly because of my dad. So started to get into it when I was younger, but my kind of key catalyst was, like most people, I think, Skrillex. changed a lot for me. 14 years old in junior high, realized that was the scene I was really wanting to get into because I love hype music. I love being like happy and just pumped and motivated. But I didn't actually find the rave scene until later because I have a twin sister, an identical twin sister, and she went to a Steve Aoki show when we were in high school. And I remember being like, that's cool, but not for me. I had never been to one. So she was like, I'll try and take you to one. She won tickets to Infected Mushroom. Which to me at the time was way too hard. It was way too hard into the dubstep world. So I was like, I'll go. I went in like a sweatshirt. I wasn't prepared for what I was about to experience. And I didn't go back for almost 10 years. And fortunately, which is funny that this is actually sitting here, John Summit was my reintro back into the scene. After years, I'd been listening to like Purple Disco Machine, Sophie Tucker and stuff, but didn't really consider it rave music until I found John Summit. And then I had a bunch of friends at the time that were also getting into John Summit. So we started sending shows, and Everything Always actually at Gasworks Park is considered one of my very first big raves that I actually considered a rave because it was my first time going with just a few other friends, and I got split off and got to go backstage, and it showed me the community in a nutshell and how like you could work in this and all that jazz. So very long-winded, but I can shout out to some of the mainstream artists for getting me here.
Yeah, I think most of us can. That makes a lot of sense, especially like the Skrillex thing. And then John Summit just brought a wave of people into it. Huge. And to be fair, like I didn't even start going to my first local raves until after I'd been to like multiple bigger shows. I did Day Trip, I did, Everything Always twice at the Gorge, also at Gasworks. Like it was a bigger thing. And then I also went to EDC Las Vegas, and that was my catalyst. So that was my first ever huge festival. That was my first ever 3-day festival. I went with my partner in 2024. And that was the year that they had John Summit, Dom Dolla, Fred again as the surprise sets. Like it was a huge year. And in the middle of downtown EDC is when I realized that, wait, I could actually stop spending my entire life living to work and work to live and enjoy my life. So that changed everything. I used to be like a 70-hour-a-week, 60 to 70-hour-a-week workhorse at a corporate company. Changed my entire life. I want to dig further into that moment. What happened then and there to make you stop with like, I don't know, the rat race you would say, I don't know.
Yeah, it's really funny because it's a tough question to answer because I don't know if there was a specific moment. I remember one of my first viral videos I think I ever made about raving, and viral meaning like at the time 20,000 views was huge for me. But it was me talking about how I was in the middle of downtown EDC after Fred Again's surprise set got too crowded and I had to leave because it was absolutely squished because it's circuit grounds. Why would you put Fred Again at circuit grounds? It doesn't make sense. So we were in the middle of downtown EDC just walking around as you do, and it felt like I was in a giant video game map. Like it was the idea that like my friends were sitting there texting me, halfway across the festival being like, meet at this totem pole at 5 p.m. Like it just didn't feel real. Everything felt really like, I don't know, it felt like an escape. And in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I could be living to do something like this, like something that I enjoy, that I care about, music that powers me as a human, rather than just working for corporate companies all the time. That it was just a weird moment, and there was no other spontaneity in that. My partner didn't say anything. It was just one of those moments. And I left being like, yeah, I can't go back to working 60 something hours a week. I want to rave.
That's one. I feel like a lot of people have that same story. Of just that moment where it's just like, wow, this is big and this is bigger than me, and I want to be a part of it in this new way.
Yes.
You went really extreme with it.
I did. It happened really fast because after that, it was quite literally like I did EDC, and then that next summer I started going to shows all the time with friends, and we did Day Trip and just a couple other like things around the community. I started going to White Rabbit Group shows, and every single time I saw a DJ I liked, I went. And then after what's funny is that a year later, so it was a year after EDC Las Vegas 2024, is when I saw that White Rabbit Group was hiring for promoters. And then that was my key to be like, well, I could go to raves for free. I should probably take that up. That's a cool opportunity because I was paying so much money to go. And after that, it was just easy from there because I was going to so many shows. I started making connections, and then my social media content followed because I was out doing things, meeting people in the community. And here we are.
I've seen that call for people, for promoters. Like that's like a very like, you got to be bubbly, you got to be excited, you got to be ready to go. And it sounds like that's you.
That is me.
True.
And what's funny is I'm actually now their promoter manager, so it does make sense. I got hired to do that, and even after this today, I have to go and ring in some new promoters into our new trial phase for this next round of promoters for the summer. So
like hiring?
Yeah, we're hiring. It's closed application now. Sorry, but what I will say is we do hire every couple months. So if anyone's ever interested, you can let me know. But it's really fun. It's just for people to actually get more involved. You get free tickets if you sell enough tickets, and that was my motivator. And I realized too that the need for solo sending that you all were talking about, like the community building side of it. I wanted that community for White Rabbit Group, and I wanted to be able to like build my rave community with White Rabbit Group, but I didn't have friends that went as often as I did. I'm almost 30 and my partner's 34. we don't rave as much as like most people do when they're younger. And neither do my friends. They go every once in a while, but not enough. And that helped build the Rave Fam in a nutshell, because I was like, how do I promote to people that I don't know? I start going to raves solo. And then how do I go to rave solo and feel safe doing it? I build a community of people I can know at the rave beforehand, be like, hey, are you guys going? Can I at least know one person in the room so that I feel safe as a woman, especially in the scene? Because, you're going out to clubs and stuff. It's Seattle. Like, you got to be safe. And yeah, that's what spurred the idea. And so it's been since June of 2025. Here we are, 9.5, 10 months later, the Rave Fam is a thing. It's crazy.
It's a big thing.
It's a very big thing now.
It's a huge thing. I've been on that Discord. I know. It's massive. I was like, whoa.
I was
active.
shocked. I was shocked. I mean, we started off on a WhatsApp channel, and then the WhatsApp group grew too much, and we had to expand.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I think I joined that in September.
Yeah,
you
you
were
were
Discord or something like that.
definitely
and then,
early.
Yeah, like way early on. Then all of a sudden I looked down. I'm like, wait, we're at 800 members now.
Yeah, believe me, every single time that I'd post a video, we'd get 100 new people in the fam, and I'm like, how is that a thing?
And
It's because it was a need.
Like there's somebody from Austria in there now too. It's
There is. Yeah, we're getting people
Let's
outside.
go.
It's
Well,
gone global.
that's the thing, is that we're all sending these sets across the country and outside. Like, we have chats for every big festival, every local event. Like, there's people that just post in there about going to things. So it makes it really easy when you're like, hey, I can post anywhere and it can go anywhere in the world. So yeah, we have people from Austria, we have people from Arizona, we have people from Vegas. Like, it's all over the place. It's kind of cool.
That sounds like something that was surprising. That's an unexpected outcome.
Very much.
What other unexpected outcomes or directions have you taken this in?
Oh my gosh. Well, see, can I talk about me? Because I feel like that's what's been crazy about it, is that the Rave Fam was my start into building my rave community, right? And as y'all know, you're talking about meeting each other through the scene. The amount of connections that I made for myself after I started going to shows and meeting people and getting back into it, because mind you, I used to plan events in college. I actually brought Big Wild and Toki Monsta up to Western. It wasn't my choice. I wasn't the one who chose the artist, but I planned those concerts. I helped book these artists to come to these venues. I've seen Odessa a million times, but didn't realize that they were more EDM than not. There was these things there that I just didn't understand. So when I started seeing my social media grow, I took that as my opportunity to just go hard. So I was making content often. The harm reduction stuff became my main focus, but I was making quips and funny, weird reels and things like that. And in doing that, my social media following did in fact increase to the point where when I unfortunately got laid off in September, which is the first time I've ever been laid off, I had a video out of that went so massively viral that now I own multiple businesses. So it's just been one of those things that I'll say that it's not just the benefit of the community, which is the only reason I do this. It's the benefit now that I no longer work in corporate. I'm able to own my own business. I have my own social media consulting that I do for multiple different awesome clients across the country and in the Seattle area. And I get to own my own rave collective now, I guess, on behalf of the Rave Fam, because we're now officially a business as well and hosting events. So yeah, things are happening. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You went from working for corporate to being corporate.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, no, and choosing to do it in a way that makes sense, not just for me, but for everyone, because most of my model kind of relies on the fact that we're people, we make mistakes, we have time, we have things that we want to be spending our time doing. So I always do things out of the box. I'm never going to give you an ad that looks like an ad that you see everywhere else. My goal is to always just be doing something original and creative and giving opportunities to other people while I do that.
That's huge.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like, Pranay, you were at one of these events, right? Was it the first event? A comment?
That was our first planned event that was hosted by us. But yes, Pranay not only helped with that, also made obviously the little, I almost said totems, the sprouts that we have on our little heads. But yeah, no, and then you even showed up early and helped set up and everything too.
Yes, it was fun. Yeah, honestly, it was an awesome event. Very good turnout. Just DJs going, good vibes. We had, a little flow area too.
Yeah.
Looked like it.
It was really fun.
Yeah, no, Radiate gets involved. I love it. Yeah, he shows up for sure.
I love it. But yeah, that was our first event. We've been doing meetups for, the entire time that the Rave Fam's been around, right? And there's people that send sets all the time. So if you're in the Discord, you know that people will be like, I'm going to the show on Friday, who wants to meet up? That happens every week. But the bigger stuff has been more of our Q Nightclub meetups. So we have one next week that's for Muzz. That's on the 27th of March. So I'm not sure when this will air, but essentially we have that. And then we have Pantera 666 in April. We go to all these things and we do intentional meetups, and then we do giveaways and things to incentivize people to actually come out and solo send. And it's a cool crew. It's a fun time.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was funny because I was going to give the halftime slot today to some people that were going to come who have a very similar idea, but they're doing it from a different perspective.
No way.
And I don't want to share too much because like it's top secret, so I can't share too much. But it's like instead of from a raver's perspective, it's actually going to be from the artist's perspective.
Ooh.
So, but it's like the same kind of vibe, right? Where people can build community and it can be like a safe environment.
I love it.
For both artists and for ravers. And so like that is something that I think is really, really special. That I've noticed has become a thing more so, again, locally in the Pacific Northwest because we have people like you, right? And what I hope this podcast eventually becomes, where we are advocating for harm reduction, we are advocating for safer spaces for ravers, where we want every person who comes to a show that the Rave Fam throws, that White Rabbit throws, that Codex throws, right, is like a safe space. Like people can come and not have to like be looking over their shoulder.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a safe space. It's supposed to be. It always has been. So we need to keep up those roots.
And you've been very outspoken about this. And like that's something like I appreciate that so much. That's like a pillar of yours. When did you decide to do that and to like make that a big part of what you're doing?
Ooh. You know, right from the start, if there's anything that I take in my intention about things, I guess it's that I always want to be intentional. That's it. That's what's funny. The intention is to be intentional, but I say it a lot. So like you'll hear me say that I'm trying to be intentional all the time. And the goal of that is that I've been a part of communities before. Y'all have too, like everyone has. And being born and raised in Seattle too gives me that perspective to say that, yes, I've experienced the Seattle freeze too. And like all these elements of things that make it scary. And then I'd also like to add as a woman in the scene, on top of that, just in society in general right now, you know, safety isn't always the focus / it's not always the like forefront of everyone's minds. It's usually the afterthought. And so at the very beginning of me even deciding to post about stuff, I knew number one that I was old enough on social media, almost 30 years old, right, to actually make these posts for myself and know how to say them correctly and take flack if I say things wrong and apologize, you know? I think that's a lot of big scares for a lot of people is they don't want to post something online because they're worried about being like having bad feedback or having people talk about them. And the idea is number one, I don't care. Number two, some of this stuff has to be talked about and does not get talked about enough. And number three, it's about safety and community. So if you're toning all those things down to those numbers and those things, you have to be intentional as a person to show up for those things. So that means not keeping yourself silent when you see big things happening. Like, I mean, we've been talking about Insomniac. They oversell their events sometimes, and like that's not good. Like, it's not supporting ravers. And when you're talking about California too, and like even Seattle in some capacity, it's not as much of an issue, I think, in my opinion, because I've definitely seen those hard summer videos of people jumping fences and just causing fights and stuff, and it's not cool. But that stuff happens anywhere. And so if we're going to be focusing on making sure the scene remains PLURR, which it's losing, like you said, because in the mainstream, people coming in and they're traditional club boys just wanting to party, like it makes it really tough when you don't talk about it.
Sure.
It's not possible to move forward unless you talk about it.
Yeah. Like I remember I had a similar experience of exactly what you're talking about when a lot of like the news had come out about the rave or about like the techno scene specifically in general and just all the crap that's happening over there. And I felt so called. I was like, well, I gotta say something. Like I don't even like techno like as much as I like other genres, but I was like, it's still part of the greater rave scene, the EDM space. And like, I feel like I have to say something because I have experience working with people who have been affected by like a lot of those acts, right? And as someone who's also getting their like master's in social work, I'm like, bro, what am I doing? I gotta say something. But I had that fear, right? Because I was like, well, I'm a dude. Why should, like, it's not my space to say something, but I was like, but there is something that has to be said by a dude because then other dudes are going to listen. And it's like, I gotta, and so then I realized it was like, this is an accountability piece. This is a piece of like, no, I'm calling all of you guys out, all men out. And I'm like, we need to do better as men, you know? And it's like, no, I'm not going to try to speak in place of women about their experience. But what I can speak for is how we can be better about creating safer experiences for women as men. And that does mean calling each other out if I see something. Like if we can equip more men to do that, right? In general, we'll create a safer space. It is not, like I said, in I got a lot of good feedback. I was worried about like the feedback that I was like, oh, like women would be like, you can't say that. Like this is like, but it was like more support. Like it was like women were just like, yes, please say this because again, about the intentionality piece, it's like I could have just made like a really brash decision and like said my 2 cents because there's a lot more I could have said. But I also understand that there's a way to navigate that conversation as a man, and because I spent some time like being intentional about, okay, what is the message I'm trying to send? I think that is why it did well. Even though when I hit post, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
what's going to happen?
That's scary for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as someone who has experience in this world, you were the right kind of man to start talking about this, in my opinion. I think that really helps. I think a lot of times men just like piling on to like a woman's issue and speaking to it can be detrimental. It's hard for us sometimes to know how to support the best, besides like, supporting the people who put the content out and making sure that they like that gets boosted and I don't know, anything reposted, whatever. But otherwise, like I get the fear, like you don't want to look like, or you don't want to come off like you're virtue signaling, or jumping on a bandwagon for clicks and views. Oof.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
I hate that.
That's the worst.
That was the biggest one, because I was like, this is a hot topic. It could also be like, I'm looking for a clout grab. And I was like, that's
exactly.
No, but I think that's the point of intentionality in a nutshell, right? Like I don't make any of my videos, not a single one, without doing the proper research before I actually make them. Like most of the time it's me going back and forth on the internet being like, how do I say this appropriately? And I'll flag too that like as a white woman also in this world, like it's the same intention that you're talking about being a man in the scene. Like there's only so many perspectives that I can understand. And so my goal is to try my best to not just not invalidate other people's experiences in those spaces, but to offer the perspective that is going to move things forward, which usually comes from a place of action. So like when you're jumping on a bandwagon, usually the things that you push for are like, this is just happening. But if you have a CTA, like some sort of an action, like a call to action to be like, okay, this is why we're going to do this, or here's why I'm suggesting this. It takes it to that additional level where, number one, on a psychology perspective, you're no longer saying you guys have to do this, because you're like, here's my thoughts and here's what I think we should do. Which again, like you said, men will listen to other men, and same with women as well, with other women. But like when you have that psychological perspective that someone's already ready to like make a change because you're alluding towards it in your content, which I thought was about your video too. Like I saw it pop up naturally on my feed. And so something important that I think that was good with yours is you started off not by like dumbing down the issue at all.
Nope.
And that's what intentionality means. It's that there's a lot of elements to everything and you can't meet every perspective, but to not talk about it is worse than just saying like, hey, we should talk about it and we should action on things. And so when you give that CTA of like, okay, either, engage with this and share your experiences, or, which is the next step, here's what you should do as a raver to support people. Here's how we think you should help. Add your other additional suggestions down below. It becomes a community thing. It's less about, hey, you need to make a change. And it's more about, we all need to be aware of this thing so that we can be all actioning on change. So just validating everything you guys were saying.
That's huge. Yeah, the call to action is a key piece.
Oh,
yeah,
huge.
I really hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
This is not my
Well,
domain.
it was prevalent in your video as well, because you were like talking about having everyone stand up. Like it's different, and it's everyone thinks those are going to be cheesy because social media is cheesy, but sometimes that's what cuts through all of the chaos.
For reference, for anybody who's listening that doesn't know what we're talking about, we are talking about, and we'll dive deeper into it in like the second part of the episode, but we are talking about this rampant issue of sexual assault in the rave scene. And harassment, not just assault, but harassment. And that's what we're talking about. But I think that's the other thing that we need to also, I think is important for all of us. And I know that you're aware, that I'm aware, is like, don't dance around the topic either. I think that's like the thing that if you have a platform, now we're going into like the responsibility of having a platform. If you have a platform, there is an element of responsibility on how to use it properly. And I really do think that we are sometimes scared of triggering people, but sometimes that trigger is what gets people riled up to your call to action.
Yep.
Right. And so in my video, I did censor it because I know otherwise the platforms were going to take it down. But I was like, I'm going to say one thing and one thing only. Sexual assault and sexual harassment is never okay in this space.
Yep.
Like, just call it out. I think too many influencers of all types dance around the topic, or they try to like butter it up or sugarcoat it. It's not a sugarcoated topic. And people are going to be less responsive if you try to sugarcoat it, as opposed to like, no, this is a problem and it cannot happen. And I guess that was the intentionality, right, that I put into it, because as a man, to be honest, it just frustrates me. I'm just like,
oh my God,
That's terrible. I mean,
we can't complain, but like, what the hell? Like
I don't.
Oh
get
my
it.
God.
Well, and so you don't get it. So we don't get it as women either. I'm going to tell you that right now. What I don't understand on top of that is the fact that the rave scene has somehow become a place in some capacity, not everywhere, right? We're talking about these being very intentional experiences, but like you don't know what goes on behind the scenes a lot of the time. But like the fact that it's in this community that was originally built so that people could have that separation from all the chaos in life. Like, I mean, it was made by queer individuals, people of color in the 1970s and 80s, originally as a place so that they could escape racism and homophobia. So like you're telling me that we also as women now have to not just worry about sexism, but like actually having our physical bodies be impacted by the bad choices of other people that just don't understand that the scene was originally built for that, and that if you're going to be a part of it, you can't deny that that's part of the scene. Like PLURR is huge, but people think that it's like a religion in some capacity, and it's not. It's just an ideal. It's a focus. It's a foundation. It's why we created this space. Like it's why the original founders did. So it's like if you ignore it and you don't take the intention, like what you're talking about now, calling it out, being very very real, no sugarcoating, you are inherently saying that the rave scene should allow that. And that's what sucks is people don't like absolutes, right? Especially online. You're talking about like sometimes like clickbaity things. I talk in absolutes and I have my entire life. So there's moments that like even my partner will call out being like, well, those two things can happen at once. And I'm like, yes, but with this, it's not a one-sided issue. This is an all idealistic, across the entire space issue. Yes. This is something that does not have any space here. It should never be allowed in the rave scene. And on top of that, we all do need to take a part in standing up and standing back against this kind of stuff. I mean, that's why I'm grateful that at least the stuff in the tech scene started bigger conversations. But like we still have, I can't remember that executive of part of one of the biggest EDM companies that represents artists.
Right. Wasserman?
Oh,
yeah, Wasserman. That's another thing too, where it's like it's not just the little things; it's everywhere. And so it's like when you're seeing that pop up more and more now, it's good that it's happening, but it's because we're talking about it. It's because people feel like they can come forward, share their stories, actually file the lawsuits that they've been waiting to do for forever because they finally feel like they have a voice behind them saying, you are safe enough to do this. That's what a woman wants in general, is just to feel like we can make those safe choices. That's why the Rave Fam exists for me. I didn't want to go to shows in Seattle, in Capitol Hill, by myself at night. I didn't.
Which makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And again, like we were talking about, how great is it to go into shows alone? Yeah, more people should do it all the time. Why wouldn't you? And it's just like our male privilege is just blinding sometimes. I'm just like, I don't understand why everyone doesn't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, of course. And then this is such an incredible way to do it. And it's going to it propagates. And that's the coolest part about it. Is it's not, it served like for helping you get, people to go to shows with, but it's going to spread to so many other people. And now it solves problems for a lot of people. It's amazing. It's fantastic. I love it.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's the least we can do to support the community on that side of things, right? Because like with anyone, you should also feel like you don't have to be the most extroverted person on the planet to go to a rave. So I will add that caveat in there. You should feel like you could be introverted and have one friend and that's okay. Or even by yourself and just enjoy that. But like in the long run, it's about the safety element. And women are hyper cautious about safety and have been our entire lives because we've been told since we were children that a lot of the actions that people have taken against us were based on our choices to begin with. Yeah. So it's like, if you're telling me that women are trying to be intentional in the scene right now and men aren't following, that's why that call to action made sense, is that you're not just calling them out, but it's like, we have known that there was something there. And so maybe there's that like air of like, people don't believe that it exists beyond our perspective. Again, perspectives are hard because it's like, you really have to see something from someone else's shoes. But when it's not talked about very much, and then the Me Too movement starts and everything starts to become a focus, and to get this far, 10.5 years later, and we're still seeing these issues, it just shows that you can't be quiet, because even if you talk about it, nothing's going to change right away at all.
I said 3 things in my call. Actually, I don't remember exactly what they were, but I do remember the main 2. It was like, it is our job to listen, and then after listening, we need to believe.
Yep.
Because
that's such a good way to put that too.
Yeah, the number one reason the Me Too movement exists, and then men now can further invalidate women's experience because they're like, oh, well, why did you wait too long to report it? Because you would have never listened in the first place, and you would have never believed in the first place. And so then they don't feel safe reporting it to you, and then therefore they don't. And it's like, why don't they report it to law enforcement? Well, what gender is predominantly in law enforcement? And they don't know how to deal with it because they only know how to shoot guns and arrest people. Let's be real.
Yeah. Sorry to laugh, because quite literally it's true. It's what they're trained for. And it's like, it's a whole nother story on that. But like within the realm of being a woman too, there needs to be a lot of evidence. I mean, like the kind of concept that people need to understand that something happened it's important. We live in a country that is supposed to, in general, be following these rules about, giving people due process, and that's fine. But women don't come forward about this stuff when it's not real, and people will blame 1 or 2 bad apples in the community who have had these things happen to them, that have said something that quote unquote didn't become true or wasn't 100% factual, or there's no evidence, and they'll just move on. They won't even give a choice to be like, okay, well, let's pretend like this person isn't lying if they were at all, or in those moments if they're the people that like keep talking up on things, or if there's different stuff of like I'll believe that or this or what, they're choosing because they're taking exactly what you're saying. They're going so far as to be like, where's the evidence first, before, instead of just listening to the woman and having the experience be like, this is happening, this has happened, even if it is an isolated incident of someone, because I hate when people say, oh, what if she lied? Even if it is an isolated incident, that doesn't account for the millions of other women, vast majority who've come out about this same stuff. I'm sorry. It's about believing that there is this thing that's happening and just ensuring that we are advocating against it always, instead of invalidating people's experiences. So,
yeah.
I'm like, I can go on about this forever because I think it just isn't talked about enough. And what I'll say is, another person online that I really love following is Danielle, the LA Raver. I don't know if y'all follow her.
Yes.
She is great on talking about this stuff. And I think it's really important not just to follow people like that, but to also like uplift other members of the community that don't look like, me, her, you, like other people, to like talk about this stuff. It needs to be like everyone does it, not just one.
Mm-hmm.
And we should be like, I've been intentional this year about following like a lot of my algorithm now. If you look at like my Instagram algorithm, a lot of female influencers. I need that, right? Like as a man, it's like I already know what I'm hardwired to do, what I'm hardwired to say, how I'm hardwired to think, right? But I'm not a woman, so I'm not hardwired to think that way. And I want to see it from their perspective. And the only way you can do that is by educating yourself, and the only way to educate yourself is to hear and listen to them, right? And so that is literally how I found you, because it's just like starting with Megan, right? And then just like my feed is like so, just women at this point, but they're all talking about things, right, that are so important and necessary. That's something that we could do
as guys. I mean, it would make sense that we would miss things if we weren't intentionally doing this. And this is something I picked up a long time ago. I had the idea to get a female therapist for the first time in my life. And that changed my perspective on a million different things. When I would especially I was single at the time, and I was like, well, if this happened, she was like, yeah, you're a big dude. Like maybe she was kind of nervous when you were talking to her. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like all these like different perspectives come through. So I think challenging ourselves and finding ways to like hear those perspectives is important, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. Y'all are out there.
We're talking about social media now, y'all. Like, you know how easy it is to get educated? You just sign on to TikTok. Like it's so simple, and like I think that's what's easy about social media in general too. Getting something out there that is this important, that is this factual, I'll say it's, in my opinion, a lot easier to get that kind of information out than it is to get information about like businesses and things like that. Like I'm a marketer. That's my full-time career. Like I studied in marketing. I've been a marketer for the last 8 years. I have my MBA. Like I've done all this stuff. And what I'll say is that any single time that I see people, sharing things online in general, the most engaging ones are the ones that are going to cause people to have to think deeply. They're the ones that people might be upset about to start. They might have that, ooh, I'm frustrated, or this is attacking me, or but like, that is what spurs action, because you have to have some sort of a first drive to be like, I'm not just going to watch this. I'm going to contextualize it. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to take the next step to not just like you did, find a female therapist, make a choice that takes you to a very different perspectives, I guess, lane to see it. Or you just get siloed. Like there's no other way to, I guess, work on social media. So it's really easy, at least for us, or I guess there's no way social media works for us other than like you sit and you scroll and you do this stuff. But taking that next step, that initiative piece, and like doing the research and talking about it, it's what's needed. It's why my platform's focused on it pretty much primarily, because on the harm reduction side of things too, we're not just talking about sexual assault. We are talking about substance abuse. We are talking about really intense things that I wouldn't even say, I hate when people say that they plague the scene, because it's not. It's definitely a part of the scene. And I want to be very intentional that a lot of people will be like, oh, the rave scene's about partying. Sure, but at the same time, it's also about community and music and acceptance and freedom and self-expression and things like that. And so if we are moving forward as a community and talking about harm reduction, we can't have that conversation without talking about these things that impact just one raver in comparison to like millions. Like harm reduction impacts everybody in some capacity, because we all know someone that has, we all know a woman. We all know someone that has potentially substance abuse issues. We all know someone that has been to a rave and felt uncomfortable at the space because they don't know something about something else, or they weren't aware of who to ask when they need help. Like those are all really important things, because it's education. There's no education anymore, because everyone's just like, I want to go to a show, and that's it.
That's super important to remember, right? Like that raving is not just about partying, and that there's so much more involved, and you also can't party if you don't feel safe.
Yes. Huge. Right? It's huge. You can't enjoy the party unless you feel safe.
There are some of us that are experienced. The title I was given, and I've shared the story many, many times, was by the baby ravers in my Rave Fam. And they saw how I carried myself. They saw how I was being responsible. They saw how I was able to take care of people. And they also saw how I educated people. And they called me Grandpa Wook, not because I was old, but because I was wise.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I was like, yes, I have been raving since I was 19, and I carry a lot of this experience with me. And because I love it so much, I want you to love it so much. But you can't love it so much if you don't know how to use substances safely. You can't love it so much if you don't feel safe. You can't love it so much if you get so drunk that you can't even leave the campsite at the gorge because you're busy puking in an outhouse. I want you to fall in love with raving the way that I fell in love with it. The only way you're going to do that is if you know how to be safe. And if I can curate, like you are with the Rave Fam, a community around me where if you go off on a side quest, you know that if something bad happens, you can run back to this community and feel safe, which is what I think you guys have done with the Rave Fam, what you guys are building with the Rave Fam. Solo raving, again, it can be scary.
Yeah. It's insanely scary. Well, and to first add off your point and then talk about that, because I feel like that's two questions or two things to know. Because you doing that exactly is what I think every raver should do. Not all the time, right? Like you don't always have to be on. You can be the one that's the one dancing in the middle of the circle. You don't always have to be the one on the outside, stopping people from getting in. But that's our dedication to each other as people when we're in those spaces, because we're in a communal space and we all paid money to be there. We are all wanting to enjoy our experiences, and it's like you said, the least you can do is educate so that everyone else can have the lovely experiences that we did. If you've been doing it for years, I've only been doing it for 4 in my time period. I had a guide. You talked about, you were like, I was, you're Grandpa Wook for a reason. Someone has a guide. You're wise. I had my wise people at ADC. They taught me everything. They gave me my first candies. They really showed me everything. And that's exactly why the Rave Fam is a thing, because not everyone gets someone to show them that stuff or show them that the community is more than just this one little small piece that you see when you're just in the crowd, And like I said, you don't have to be extroverted in life. You should never have to be extroverted. There are so many different ways in which people are, motivated. And when you're intrinsically motivated, you don't want to always go to shows. But if you love the music, you want to go to shows. So finding that middle ground of not having to ask the question or have someone who is, a raver like us to be like, let me take you under my wing. We're giving them that opportunity before they even go to the show, because they're going to know who's there. They're going to see it in the Discord chat. They're going to say, oh, hey, there's these 5 people or whatnot that are going. I mean, I know I've seen you post Pranay as well in the chat of oh, I'm going to the show tonight. If anyone wants to meet up, that's the intention of the group, because at first it was me motivating people. So, yeah.
Yeah. And also with the solo raving, it's especially when I moved here too, it's this is the first actual big city scene I've ever been in. Because when I got into raving, it was I didn't really listen to EDM that much in high school because I got kind of weird looks for it or whatever. Yeah, right. I had freaking Aero chord blasting on my headphones back then. They're like, dude, what are you doing? But then in college, obviously, I stopped caring and just listened to what I wanted to listen to. And it was in a small college town, middle of East Bumblefuck nowhere, Virginia, right? It's I got yelled at for playing Martin Garrix at parties sometimes, right? So
what?
Oh yeah. No.
That's crazy.
Wow. Too heavy.
Too heavy. Animals way too heavy.
What? Bro.
Just blew too many minds is all.
But yeah, it's you go from that, and then I moved out here, and I was like, okay, I heard amazing things about the scene out here, and I was like, all right, let's go check out my first shows. I think my first one, it wasn't an EDM show. I think it was South the Crocodile. It was Boosika. They were a alt rock artist from from Australia. Even there, the community was pretty dang good, in general. And then I go to my first show at Substation. It was Mr. Bill, and that was really, really fun. And I just noticed, wait, there is Wooks left, right, and center here. This is insane. I love it.
Base capital in some capacity
against
Denver.
I know. We have a rivalry going.
I know,
Let's go.
It's because Denver and Seattle are so similar, but there's definitely a rivalry for sure.
And then I went to my first show at WAMU, and I was like, oh my god, this is mini Lost Lands right now for me. Which
show was that?
What show?
Great question. I've been to so many at WAMU right now, but they just all blend together.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just see totems.
You're looking at the stage in your mind, and you're just I remember that one banana man. And
that's all I remember is the banana dude in the mosh pit.
When I first moved here, I was going nuts. I got to Seattle in July, obviously I had to like get my feet under me for like a month or two. But then like the first week of September, I hit 3 shows in that 1 week. Oh. And then the week after I hit another 2. Oy. The week after I hit another 2.
Oy. Okay, so you just went really quick, so it could have been any of those shows.
It could have been all
basically.
The time.
Dang.
Yeah.
I think it was either ATL. No, ATL was way later. It might have been No, it wasn't Apache.
It was something. It was something.
It was something.
But
He's just
yeah.
seen every artist possible
Yeah,
at this point.
At this point, yeah, like
In such a condensed amount of time.
So
literally, it's like, oh,
crazy.
show, done, show, done.
Yeah, I mean, but something like Rave Fam, I'm sure would have like.
Yeah, like it would have, but also at the same time, like I was also overwhelmed because like I literally just moved from coast to coast. I knew literally nobody here. I think I had like 2 friends out here, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And like even then, it's like the rave scene in general. Like I'm still kind of like shy because of my neurodivergence and everything, but it's also like I'm trying to like get better at as I'm going out. But I just noticed that like the community in general, it's like everyone's sprouting each other, giving out trinkets, all that fun stuff, like all the healthy things that we're supposed to be doing.
Dude,
Yes.
it's
for each
been
other, right?
so
Like,
fun to learn about. I'm like a rave baby. I think when we met like 9 months ago or whatever, that was like my first month in like into EDM or
No
like
way.
into all this stuff, and I've just fallen in love. Oh my god! And like I think we were talking about before, I'm like coming from a metal background, and I love metal, and metal will always be my first love.
Wearing
But
a metal
like
shirt right now.
totally, exactly. But like they don't have candy or totems or awesome fireworks and bass that rattles my skeleton.
Yeah.
Like they don't have these things. I've just been in love with finding it. So we met through Codex, and that was a godsend for me. Was like getting to meet other people who were trying to DJ and produce. That was and those who don't know, Radiate is a fantastic producer. He's given me lots of tips over the years. But if I'd known about, or if Rave Fam had been around at the time, I would have jumped on it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the whole point of what you just talked about. The rave scene is more than just a concert. You're not just going to see a show and be there for the one night a year that you're out in the town. These are people that are going all the time, and if not, you're like seeing these artists that you've been obsessed with and been jamming to, or dancing by yourself in your kitchen to for forever. And it's the elements of the rave that people miss out a lot on when they don't have friends. So like when you're getting there, and I'm sure you all can relate to this, if you've ever solo sent a set when you first walk in, usually it feels really daunting when you first walk in because you're like, who do I go? Do I go to the stage? Do I go to the bar? Like, do I go check out the merch? Like, what am I supposed to do right now? Unless you're getting there, obviously, during like the time where you're like, oh God, the artist is on. You're just like sprinting to the stage. But in those moments, like, the fun part is the trading candy. It's getting complimented by strangers because everyone's wearing fun outfits and doing cool things and wearing pieces that you'd never see in public. Like most of the time too, like ravers as well will be that weird version of themselves outside of the rave scene too that I love so much. And it's like those elements don't exist elsewhere. And they also help build that community element. Like the only reason I felt safe during my first solo scent show, which was actually a year ago this week, which is crazy. I went to Gesture last year. It was my very first solo send ever. And I went with a couple friends. I met my friend Charles actually at Boo in 2024. And I met him with a friend. We were just walking around and I had a friend who was like, ooh, we should go talk to him. And we did. And it was one of those, like, we sent a couple sets together and we took a photo. We got each other's, Instagram, as you do sometimes. And then you go home and you don't talk. And I was trying to sell my EDC Las Vegas tickets last year. He was messaging me about buying them. And he saw that I had posted being like, I have 2 tickets to Gesture tonight. I don't know who's going to go. My partner is a firefighter, so he had to work. And so I was like, dang it, I really want to see this techno artist. I'd been dying to see a techno show, and it had been since EDC in 2024 since I saw techno last. So I was like, I gotta go. He was like, just come over. We're hosting a pregame at my house. Like, we can get to know each other. I don't know you well. It's weird, but like, come through. And I did it. I didn't think I would. I stayed at my house until almost like 9 p.m. because I was like, I didn't want to be the first person at the pregame, like all that stuff. And then the moment we got to Gesture, that's when I realized the piece that I was missing, which was that fun part of like, they were ravers. So like there was people around us even that were like, oh, do you want to trade? And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot that this is a thing that actually exists at shows. Cause unless you have a, Grandpa Wook at your presence to be like, come over here, let me show you something. You don't get that piece. And so in that moment, it was when I was realizing like, okay, I don't know any of these people in this crew right now, but they're making me feel safe and welcome. And they're taking those steps to like, make me feel not just like, I guess, welcome here, but also like to curate the vibes, like to get me dancing, turn around, point at me, be like, oh my God, that song's so good, stuff like that. That's the community. And you miss all those pieces if you don't trade candy, if you don't walk around and side quest and talk to people, compliment each other's outfits, or, just run around and start talking about how wonderful the music is. You don't. So
there's also like an energy aspect of it too. It's like you could be having like a crappy week or like a quarter life crisis like I was having last year or whatever, right? But like it's like that's happening. And then this one actually was at ATLians. On the way out, I like give somebody a Sprout. They give me a duck that says "You are ducking brave," and I'm like, I needed this.
I needed this duck.
See the validation. Oh my gosh, that's the thing is that like everyone who is a raver, I think we're all kids inside, right? Like any person's a kid inside. But I think ravers have this like extra special version of the kid inside themselves that they just haven't tapped into enough yet. But it's starting to get there. It's why we trade fun things. You got to think about the rave as like a kindergarten classroom.
Yes.
Yeah, because we are adults, but we like the same things. So we actually have common ground and interest, and we have these tools that we can use to, make this thing happen without us being like, let me talk about what I did at work this week and the weather and, Seattle freeze for the 8 millionth time. No, those are just not even topics. It's like completely separated. And so the Rave Fam, what it tries to do is, again, be that first person to kind of step in and be like, instead of you having to go and talk to someone straight up, you can go into the Discord and be like, hey guys, what's up? I'm going to the show. And you can take that next step of like, once you know the person, then you could set up candy trade meetups. You can actually offer to ride or give people rides to shows. You can set up pre-games. You can do the part that actually makes it fun. The best part, in my opinion.
The community part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and we all need community. We're in a world of social media right now. Everyone's constantly and chronically online. It's just, we need that piece, and it's missing in life, in total. So.
Or it's like, I would rather hop on a Zoom call than meet up with you in person.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is...
Let's touch grass, y'all. Let's go.
Yeah.
I like, yeah.
Waves.
Yeah, no, I like... It's funny because I've been retired from raving for a little bit. And when I say that, I mean, it's like I go to like maybe one show every 3 months because I don't have the energy as much as I used to. I mean, I'm not old, but I started when I was 19 and then I had the COVID era, obviously that took a lot out of me. And then because I was removed from it during COVID, I like went as hard as you for the next like 3 years after. From like 2021 to 2024, I think I went to every local show I possibly could, every festival I possibly could locally. Wow. I've been to Base Canyon like 3 times. I've been to Beyond Wonderland at the Gorge like 4 or 5 times at this point, or however, basically for as long as it's existed. I've been like to Thunderdome. This past February was the first Thunderdome I didn't go to.
Wow.
And that was intentional. I said, nope, I don't got the energy for that. And I was going to go to Crank Dome, but then I'm even like, nope, I don't have the energy for that either.
Yeah.
A lot of my engagement with the rave scene has just been this now, because a lot of local artists have pushed me in a healthy way to bring it back because it's good for them. I'm a very busy person. Like I remember I was on the phone with you like last week and I was like, bro, I don't think I'm gonna make your show.
I was like, dude, I got you. Grandpa's tired. I get you, man.
I was like, dude, I really know. I say it on the podcast, like, yeah, I'll go support my friends, but I just feel like I don't because I don't have time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, this sucks. Like I want to go to the Women Crush Wednesday. I can't again. I have something that I'm doing for work, that Wednesday.
Life happens, man.
Life happens.
But
Life happens. Come on.
It's like what you were saying about like being a kid again and like all of these things. I've realized that it is a muscle that you actually have to exercise because having been retired for so long, every show I go to, I am that person that's like,
yeah.
And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, what went from like that person that was like, yo, what's up, bro? Like, how you doing? Oh, I love your Pash. Oh, come here, trade candy, to like, don't talk to me.
Feeling accepted and having the ability to do it without being exhausted.
No, like,
A lot of different things.
Like, I 100% agree with that because especially when I moved out here for the first time, it's like, look, it's like I was a baby raver like coming in general too. Like I think like my first festival was Breakaway. My second festival was freaking Lost Land, so I kind of jumped straight to the fucking deep end.
The big stuff.
Oh my god.
Hey, remember EDC Las Vegas was my first. So let's talk about jumping in on that one.
Y'all are crazy.
Oh man, dude, Base Canyon was my first. What is wrong with us?
God.
What are we doing?
Oh wait, actually, to be fair, Paradise 2019 was my first.
What are we doing? What is happening here?
Dang, I wish I would have experienced Paradise.
Man, no shallow end for any of us. Straight to the deep end. Every single one of us.
It's like I went from like my entire community and like my entire Rave Fam there, and obviously like the great scattering happened. So like all my closest friends, like closest friends from college and everyone all kind of move away, and it's like I even just got over that like very recently, and it's like when I first moved here, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go to shows solo, and that's really it. I was isolated, wasn't really going out much. Felt on Codex really, honestly, like up until then, didn't really know anybody out here. So it was like I'm going to shows, I'm having fun. It's like maybe I'll have a couple of conversations, but then it'll just be like we won't really exchange contact or anything, and just kind of like trade candy or whatever and walk away. And it's like, all right, what's missing here, right? Like, what do I got to do? But it's like, all right, I just got to go be me again, right? Like, just go be yourself, trade candy, I'm a big Sprout person, as y'all know. Like usually,
Come on now.
Usually, I will pull up to a show and have like 45 Sprouts in my hat. By the end of the night, I want all of them gone. So it's like
I love that.
That's a tangible goal. But yeah, man, it's exhausting. And so like you've got the willingness, you got the excitement, you got the readiness. You just need the means, and there are means.
Now there's means.
And that's the Rave Fam's thing too, is that it's not just that you show up and can do the pre-games in person and stuff too. You can also like halfway through the set be like, I want to go in side quest, and we'll do like meetups at shows. So like you guys were talking about like More the Merrier, the Christmas show for WAMU or at WAMU with White Rabbit Group. We did one of our biggest meetups we've ever done. I think we had like in total, and they weren't all in the photo, but like 70 people show up to this meetup. It was insane. It was crazy. And there was people that like, they weren't part of the Rave Fam, but they followed me on social media that they came and met up, which was crazy also, by the way. To be recognized in public is insane, but to be recognized in public at the rave, you guys are talking about those people that are really nice and fun and in your face. Imagine all of them at once being like, here's this PLURR that I made and it took me 5.5 hours. Here you go. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's this moment of just like chaos, but it's a full side note. But like, what I'll say is my favorite part about going viral has been the fun, like actual like conversations I get to have with people that are like, here's this really beautiful art piece that I made and I'd love to trade it with you. And I'm like, oh my God, please, I want it so bad. But no, that element though is that when you're at the middle of the show and you're like wanting to get out and explore and stuff, you should have a place that you can go to meet up with people. So like that meetup at WAMU was a huge one. Obviously when you do any Q Night Club shows with us, when we actually have those meetups, we're just there. So like you look for the people that have the totems or the little things and then you just say hi. It's just like an easy thing to know, because you also have to remember too, in all these spaces, unless you are at like Substation or smaller collective events, you're not necessarily always going to be surrounded by 100% ravers. There's going to be people that go to the clubs that are just there, Q Night Club, Vice, like things like that. And then there's also going to be people that are just like, I like this artist and I'm just here. So it's not always going to be 100% rave, but when you have those options in the middle of a show to be like, I'm going to leave my crew, or if I am solo and I'm tired of being solo, go and meet up with the rest of these people. It does take away that little like kid moment of I'm now anxious to go and do that, but it gives you the ability to be like, well, I can if and when I want to. And that's also the thing, is like, it doesn't have to be Rave Fam at every single show that you've ever seen, but if we build a collective mindset and we treat it like there's the Rave Fam at every show, and then more and more people start to try and send sets together and offer space of like, I'm going to be there, I'm going to have candy, come and find me, then more people will start becoming friends with each other without needing those tools. It's just, we sometimes need a little help. It's just like when you're kids, you might need a little person to be like, come and hang out at my birthday party. And then you meet everybody and then suddenly you're part of the crew. Like, that's what raving does for me. I've been a nerd my whole life. And I was trying very hard for a very long time to fit myself into this little like mindset of being this corporate business baddie, I guess. And like making friends that, they're my community, they're my family now, but like they don't always love the same music that I do. So like we're not going and doing the same hobbies all the time. And while that's totally fine, I needed that. So like any person could, sit there and be like, I want that. And the only way that they can get it is by doing this, the steps. And those are the hard parts. So
yeah, it's work.
It's work.
Yeah, it's real work.
Raving is work, though. I mean, you were just talking about being tired at stuff too. That's I miss rave over here. I'm going to everything all the time, but at the same time, these last 2 months, I took a break from raving, and that's also really impactful. So when we're talking about harm reduction again, so kind of throwing it back a little bit. The most important thing ravers need to know is that they should also take breaks.
Yes.
Water,
Self-care.
Yes.
Come on
Sit down.
now.
Even at the rave, take a break.
Like,
go sit.
Just
stand by the AV booth and go lean on it.
Yeah.
And just go watch the view, man. Like, literally.
The more the merrier. When I went, all of my friends were like, because they're baby ravers for the most part. They're like, oh, I want to like, and I was like, I've been there. I know. Like, you want to be in the pit, you want to be front and center, you want to be in the middle of the dance floor, and you can be there for the whole night. Also, if you take substances, it affords that for you. But I am sober, 100%. So when I go to a show, all I have to rely on is literally caffeine. And if I don't have caffeine, I'm dying.
Yes.
And I remember so vividly, my friends were like, come dance with us. I was like, I'm going to go sit
on the bleachers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know what? The show can be more enjoyable from there because then I get to see everything.
Yep.
True.
And I was like, and I would sit down and I was like, oh. I was like, my feet don't hurt. I can just sit and listen. I took some really cool videos and I'm just like, oh. And I did by myself too, mind you. Like, I was like, nah, you all have your fun. I'll find you. They're like, are you sure? And I'm like, I've been doing this for like almost 7 years. I'm pretty sure I can find you. I know my way around the dance floor. Don't worry about it.
That reminds me of a meme that got sent in, like in the Rave Fam a while ago. Like I think it's sent to Incodex. It's like, oh yes, like it's like a skeleton sitting down.
Oh yeah.
That says, I think it's heart says pit, knees say balcony.
Yes. And like I said, I am not even old, but I have flat feet, and it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. So like I cannot stand for as long as I used to.
Just take care of yourself.
And
It's fine.
And I would go and sit down, and then my friends are like, "What happened? Why do you have all this energy back?" I was like, "Because I took a break."
Yeah.
Took a break.
The wisdom.
Well, and that's harm reduction in a nutshell also. And like that's why there's so many elements to the stuff that I post. That's why I enjoy posting about it so much, is that it's like I literally made a video a couple months ago that I was shocked actually did so well, because it was about people that go mute at the rave. Because I was like, there's different reasons people go mute at the rave, and I wanted to give, it sounds weird.
Wait, what is this?
So like when people go mute at the rave, there's different reasons for it, right? Like it could be that their substances have hit in a way that either are good or bad, and they're enjoying it or they're hating it, and they need support for the hating part, or if they, on the other side, they enjoy it, they just need that moment to like decompress, lock in on the tunes, things like that. Or if they're sober, they're going to dance and they're like, please stop talking to me in the middle of this set that I've been waiting 4 years for. Like that's the kind of thing that like, it sounds cheesy, and it also was like a thought that came into my head randomly, because I like to go mute. I'm the girl that likes to go, and I'm usually the one that's like sober too, because this is a job now, and I'm locked in, I have my sunnies on, and I'm just like in it. Like that's what I do. That is my thing. So it's like making a joke about it in a sense by being like, I go mute, haha, here's a harm reduction thing, but also making it important to know of like, how do you check in with someone that's gone mute, especially someone who might not want the whole like, are you okay? Because that's like really intimidating, especially like if you're on substances. So it's like, in those moments, there's ways we can talk to people. So like, even when I made that, I was like, ooh, I can say, instead of you running up and being like, is everything okay? You look awful, to be like, hey man, I hope you're having a good night. Everything good? Yeah, we're great. Or the whole, yeah.
Yes, just the thumbs up.
Just the thumbs up. It's so simple, but people don't recognize that stuff, because in those spaces too, like, I mean, when you're 18, 19 too, you want to run around and go crazy. So you're running up to people and you're like, and you're excited. But like in those moments, you probably shouldn't. So it's like, that's the fun part of harm reduction, is it isn't just taking care of yourself. It's also like there's pieces and elements to it that like you would not understand unless you were at the rave and experienced the rave and know how it is. And like a lot of it has to do with like us all being people, being overstimulated, being tired, you know, needing to eat, needing to like take a moment mentally, you know, a lot of the time too. And like, I mean, that's why I always advocate for event spaces to always have places to sit down. I always advocate that those spaces should also have like water stations and medics, and at least someone that's on site, like even if it is just the organizer who's trained in first aid, like things like that, because those are all very basic things that you should have at everything. And you can somehow make funny TikToks about it like I did, relating it to just going mute because you want to dance. And
absolutely,
it helps.
Yeah.
Contextualizes things a little bit for people.
Yeah.
But.
And speaking of going mute, taking a break, I think we should take a break and come back and revisit the conversation. I know it sounds like really abrupt, but I was like, whoa, it's about that time. So yeah, we'll take a break because you guys probably need a break, and we'll come back. And yeah, we're going to take a break to take care of ourselves too. And we'll see you in the second part. Peace. Alrighty, welcome back to part 2 of the show. Again, here with Makenna as our guest. We talked about a lot of things in the first part, and we are hoping to not talk about as many things in the second part. But I guess, yeah, we talked about how like you use your platform to talk about harm reduction, to talk about like the important things, you know, in the rave scene and the rave space. The one video that you made that kind of went viral, which is how I found you and figured out who you were. It was like the talking about the bridge raves, talking about like the safety aspect of those. I know you had a question about it that we can bring up shortly about the bridge raves, but I also just wanted to open up the conversation to talk more about broader like our responsibility. Like we all have a platform. You know, you guys have platforms as artists. You know, what you play on stage, what you say on stage matters. The visuals you use matters, right? Your logo matters. You know, being Grandpa Wook, also having the podcast, right? I had the same experience where when I got recognized in public for the first time, I was like, what the and so it was that moment, right? Then I was like, oh shoot, people actually know me now. I have like this responsibility, right? I can't just like, I got to be more intentional about the content I post, and obviously same thing there. So just wanted to open up the conversation kind of to talk about like what platform responsibility, like what we have, what we should be talking about on the show, right? And like how to use your platform responsibly.
Ooh, yeah.
Because a lot of people have platforms. And all of us have influence, especially in the rave scene with hundreds of friends that we make. So yeah, anyone want to start us off?
I mean, I'm happy to jump into it. That's my role as the guest, right?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think so. A couple different things when you talk about platform like responsibilities. Let's start there, like the bigger topic, which is like, what is a responsibility when you're talking about posting on a social media app that everyone posts on, you know? If you have been around the social sphere as long as I have in the sense of like the corporate side of things, like I do, my professional side is being a social media expert and doing organic and paid social media for clients. That space shows you, and this is why I start off on this bigger picture. It shows you that a lot of brands, a lot of companies, a lot of people, a lot of entities don't want to post the hard stuff ever. Ever. They don't want to make their brand look a certain way. I mean, you were just talking about logos is like, yeah, it's important. It very much is. It's part of your brand strategy. You're creative, you know? But a lot of companies they stay away from it, right? And so you're told your entire life, especially when you're in like high school sports and stuff, like they'd be like, don't post anything on social media that looks poorly about you because it reflects on you and on us and on the organization. I mean, I was in a frat in college. I was in AK Psi, the business frat. And they literally were like, anything you post online, if you have your letters in it, it reflects on us and we can kick you out if you post something crazy. Yep. That's been something that's been screamed down everybody's throats for forever, to the point where you can see it in the corporate world, literally at the point where they're like, we don't want to do out of the box content because why would we? Because we have our things that we do that work. And it's like, that just builds this system in place where people just don't feel like they could share things. And it makes it really hard because then there's backlash and other people that you've never had perspectives that you don't want to hear, but now they're suddenly in your comments, like that kind of stuff. It's a lot of pressure. And I'd like to start with that big note of saying that our responsibility as having a platform, is quite literally just to make sure that we share the voices that don't. That is the basis of having a platform. So in my opinion, the obligations that we have are ensuring that we are supporting all ravers in some capacity, or people on the internet, as I post not just about raving stuff, but mostly. Making sure that you're not just thinking about everyone's perspectives, but offering space to perspectives that you didn't imagine to be there. If you're ever presented with something, like you're like, here's my thought, and someone goes, well, here's this other thing, and it's important, or it's a valuable thing, or if it does, impact their personal beliefs, how they're able to function in society, how they look at themselves, all that stuff. That's all really important, and you do need to have that as a creative be your focus in what you share on social media overall, because you have the opportunity, and it's really hard. You all know to build a social platform, that's challenging. It's challenging. So it's like, if you already have it, and there's these people who've been trying for decades, to get their voices heard, even if it's small, even if it's just, I really wanted to share this thing because it's an issue I had. That's something. So when you're talking about the bridge raves and stuff, I'm like, I'd like to have you guys talk about it, but that's the reason I posted about it. Because it's an opinion that someone needed to have shared.
Was that something you saw in the community that you wanted to do, or was it just you and it was just bursting out of you?
I think it's twofold, because if there's anything you know about me, it's that I've never held myself back on social media about anything to do with politics, about empathy and accepting people. It's funny, I had to actually explain this to my partner a few weeks ago, because I was making posts like crazy, and I have been now, for months, of just like all these different topics in the world, in the United States, in politics, like that kind of stuff. My first job was in political advertising. Like I am a political girly. So if you think about all those, elements, I had to explain to my partner that I've not just been doing this for forever, but it's also something that now is my focus, because it should be, because I have the ability to do it now. So there's all these elements to that. But overall, when you're, talking about bridge rave stuff, for example, like that specific video, I at first felt, number one, that I had the ability to do it, so why not? Number two, I'm an empathetic individual, and I would rather share harm reduction tips with people so that they don't have those same issues, because we can all do better, and it's a little thing that you could do just to support another person. And then finally, the community was starting to talk about it. And I think for me, it was like I saw like one video about just someone being like, just don't go to the bridge. And I was like, why don't you go to the bridge? Like, I don't understand. And then I did some research, and I got reached out to by people in the community. And then that was when I like kind of got forced into that perspective of like, this is an element of the rave scene I'd never experienced, because I'd never been to a bridge show, and I'd never been to a renegade like that had been thrown in a space that was unsafe. So I didn't have that experience. But when it was shown to me, I was like, oh God, like this actually does happen where people are thrown into these unsafe situations thinking that everything's fine, thinking that they have, you know, everything thought of and it's intentional. And then something tragic happens and no one talks about it. And when they do talk about it, they talk about it as a demonizing thing to the rave scene, which is weird. Like they'll be like, it's the rave
as like a
communities
whole
thing. And it's like, I wanted to just get ahead of that and be like, it's not about that, because my brain was like, well, they're kind of attacking something that I care about. But at the same time, it was because of like all these news companies coming in and being like, well, there's all these horrible things happening there. And it's like, well, it's because of a very specific individual from my reasoning or from my understanding that I, you know, deducted from a bunch of people sharing things. But like, that's in multiple parts. Very long-winded way to say that, of course. But.
Yeah,
for sure. Go ahead. I want to provide the context, but I think you asking your question first would help.
Sure.
So
we'll do that. So I had never been to a bridge rave either. And then I went to some rave at Gasworks, and they were talking about the bridge raves. Oh, you got to come, man! It's so fun, so fun. And then like the next week, everything went down. I was like, oh my God, I saw your video. That's how I knew something went down. I didn't know.
Wow.
And I think it was really cool because that set the tone. I think you, like you said, you got ahead of it. And so that set the tone. There's other people who came out and said essentially the same thing. Like, this is unacceptable. We can't have these types of events where there's no security. There's no anything here.
Yeah.
And so being as I am, like, I like to, like, I was like, okay, I agree with all this. I'm with this, but I like to challenge my opinions. I was like, all right, let's go into the comments and see who the hell doesn't agree with this.
Yeah.
And there was one thing that I've kind of seen consistently about like the opposition to like any of this, which would be to that like that's what like original raving, guerrilla raving was. Like there was no security, there were no tickets. We got speakers, we set them up, you come, you leave, that's it. Like this idea that we need to, like, anyone who wants to throw a show needs to like have like security and all the things to make people safe is antithetical to raving. And so I mean, I don't agree with that, but I wanted to know, like, especially your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So at number one, I was the one probably replying to those as well, because I did see them. There was hundreds of comments like that. And what I do think is interesting, especially because, like, I mean, you're talking about being a baby raver earlier. Like I'm kind of a baby raver. Like I've been in it for a while now, but like, I mean, I am in some capacity. I haven't been raving as long as you have, for sure. Like, you know, the Grandpa Wook, when you're talking about 19 being out there, like that wasn't a thing for me. I saw Infected Mushroom and I said, why am I here? And I left. So it's different. But in that, I guess, that kind of space of things, I think there's two things. I think number one, you actually need to look into the history first, because it's not true with that element. If you think about how warehouse raves were first held back in like the 1970s and 80s, there was a lot of safety that actually came into play before they even made it to the venue. So while yes, there was, you know, you pop up and you set up a show, there was a phone call that you had to make to someone, and then you went to that place and you asked them in person for a code, and then you went to another place and you asked them for another code that you then called a phone number to get that third code, and then they gave you the address. It was very intentional. You had to work hard to take those first steps to actually get to the shows. And when things got, you know, doxed, like they did with the, you know, the bridge raves, they stopped hosting events in those places. They found safer spots, or they found spots that had better security. And again, most of these were in warehouses. So I'd also like to note, this isn't open air most of the time. This is very much when they had to do that because they had to hide. You have to remember that. This is 1970s, 1980s, you know, sexism, racism, homophobia, all these things ran rampant. I mean, right after the civil rights movement and the Stonewall riots, it's crazy. So it's like, when you look at all that stuff, you can clearly say that while there's that element of being able to, you know, throw a renegade, pop up wherever, you know, throw down, have a good time because we're humans and we just want to, you know, have a moment to party and dance and listen to good music. That's a part of it. But the other part is the fact that we now live in a society that isn't as safe as it used to be. And we're not taking those steps because everyone is posting these free raves on social media. So like, how are you supposed to be intentional about finding people to join your events when it's just broadcast to anyone who happens to have a smartphone and follow the hashtag EDM? Like, it's different. And so when I hear things like that, I actually had conversations with people in those moments, and I was like, you know, I understand. Some people came back being like, I like the air of the fact that it's not safe. Like, some people were even saying that. They're like, I don't want to feel like I have security breathing down my neck. I don't want to feel like I can't do the things that I love doing at raves. Like, most of the time they're talking about substance abuse for reference, but that being said, like, they have the right to do those things. We're people. You know, people make mistakes, make choices, do what they want to do, and that's fine. But in that space, if you're putting your party above everybody else, you're not caring about the broader group and the safety of the broader group in a world that is no longer as safe as it used to be.
Yes.
When you talk about, the bigger issues in terms of politics, gun control being the namely big one because of the issue that happened at the bridge rave last year.
And now there's other things too, like federal agents.
Yeah.
Running
oh my
around
God.
unchecked.
Even worse.
Yeah.
Even worse. And this
yeah.
community is meant to be an escape. What are you talking about? That there's these spaces that you don't even have an organizer that's aware of where the exits are, or how people are going to, walk in and the flow and where they're going to stand. And it sounds simple. It sounds weird to your head because you're like, why would I care about that? It's just people throwing down some, tunes. That's it. But safety is huge and anyone can walk up to those spaces. And so you have to remember it's not ravers in that space. So you can't trust them automatically. And even then you can't trust anyone at first. So it's just about intentionality again.
And that intentionality resides with the owners of the production. That is 100% their responsibility.
On the organizer to make sure that their events are safe. And again, it does not mean you have to go as hard as to be like, I have security and barricades and I've called the cops to tell them where we're at. No, never has to be that far. But what it does say is that you're intentional about who you invite. You're not inviting strangers. You're putting in policies in place to say, don't bring these things. And we might check you when you walk up. There might be one security guard that gives you a little pat down so we know for a fact that isn't happening. It sounds like a lot, but it's the least we can do. Because this is ravers' lives in our hands. This isn't, hey, you're just going to go to this event and have fun. This quite literally was a party that resulted in a life being lost that we're talking about here. So it's if we are thinking long-term and wanting to ensure ravers have longevity and are able to enjoy their lives like we all deserve to, we talk about those things as being important. So
it's what you were sharing right earlier about what the Rave Fam does even, right? It's about that intentionality ahead of time. I think what it is because I used to go to the bridge raves before that.
Before it got doxxed.
It got doxxed and that individual was the one throwing it. And it was multiple other organizers would throw events there, right? Yeah. And yes, again, you can never fully guarantee in an environment like that because it's open air, the safety of everybody, right?
Yep.
But they were more intentional about keeping lists. So it's hey, if we do something like this next time, we have names, faces, they are not welcome. And it's the community's job of all the ravers to hold them accountable.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else was there? There was we had barriers similar to how it was in the old days where they would post about the event on social media just to get the traction, right? Yeah. But there was no QR code, there was no location. They would always say secret location, right?
Yep.
And it's kind of what Base Exhibit's trying to do right now, where it's you have to DM us, we'll tell you, right? But they gauge your rep. Your rep is so important in that moment because if you don't know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who can vouch for you, you're
not even.
You're not going to come in.
Yeah.
Again, bad apples will always find a way to sneak in. Bad apples will always find a way to do things, right? But for the most part, people, no one died. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
No one died when they were throwing the shows. And most of the bad apples we weeded out were for the other things, people who were spiking drinks or. The other things that we talked about, like sexual assault, sexual harassment, right?
Yeah.
But if it's an isolated incident that still impacts someone, right?
Yes.
We can do our best to ensure that person never comes back and hurts more people. But if someone dies, we can't bring that person back to life.
Yeah, it's about being preventative. And it's funny because people look at preventativeness as you're adding all these restrictions and barriers and all these things that make it not what it used to be. When in reality, it's that you're talking about an event that used to feel actually safe because there was community policing.
Yes.
And that's another element that we've lost as a result of COVID. And I know y'all probably experienced it being in a crowd. People aren't as nice as they used to be. And it's not, in my opinion, because we're getting meaner. I think it's because we all have this kind of period of time where we realized what we could lose and we were really excited about coming back. And then we all got really, really stoked on well, I paid for this experience. It took me forever to get here. I mean, we live in a world that's already expensive. So when you're talking about free raving too, you're well, I deserve to be here. It's free. And there's all these elements and I can go and I can have fun. And it's just not the same scene that it was. And so when you look at everything and you pretend that's the scene's the same and the problem is oh, well, we shouldn't have these, or not problem, these things that we shouldn't have in place are because the scene's always been like this, it really takes away from the fact that it's not the same anymore. And with the community policing side of things, no one's really taking that step unless they've been an active raver for a long time and understand PLURR. So it's there's just so many different like caveats and pieces to it to say that we shouldn't be doing anything. We should be doing something because there isn't those things in place. And when those things get in place again, and there's other things in the world that stop individuals like the people who did the awful things last year from coming to events, that's when we can say that we don't need those things anymore. But to say that we can't be preventative because it's not the foundation of what raving used to be, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't, because it's changed, and we all know it's also mainstream now, you guys. Like, this isn't just millions of people are coming out. This is multi-millions and millions and millions of people that are coming out, and they're new. They've never been to these shows. They're used to the club scene, and we're not the club scene.
They're used they're used to just partying, and that's really about it. And it's like, you know, for them, it's like they don't really see the community aspect of it. Like, they don't see like the actual safety aspect of it. No, it's just like, oh wait, holy crap! I heard about this cool thing called raving, and all I know about is substance abuse and what, you know, the media says and all this other stuff. I want to go do it.
Yeah.
And like another thing too is like guys are like, yeah, a chance to use substances, and there's a lot of eye candy. Which
yeah, exactly.
That speaks to the root of the other problem that we face, right? But like, I've literally heard that. I've literally heard that because now, like you were saying, because raving has become more mainstream, like clubs are now, when they are trying to sell an event, they're not saying, oh, it's like a dance party. They'll literally, like, people are calling it like reggaeton rave. And I'm like, one, that doesn't make sense. But okay, because it's not even, it's just the word rave now sells.
Yeah.
And so now it's attracting people who don't actually know what rave means, what the origins of that word, what the origins of the culture behind raving is. You're attracting just anybody who's like, oh, they see the word rave, they immediately associate drugs, pretty women, and dancing. And music, right? Like, that's what they immediately associate it with. And that is the other element that I think has really shaped what we're seeing now, right? It's with the British rave, right? Like renegades, there's so much more intentionality, as you mentioned, that needs to go into throwing a renegade. And I've seen this firsthand when I help people throw shows. I'm the one that's always like, they hate me because I'm the one that's always asking the hard questions. I'm the one just like, well, what did you do about this? They're like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm
like, as someone who's put on shows before, like, it takes a lot of effort to run a good, safe show.
So much effort.
So much effort.
So much.
Like, and it's also like, it's not.
Yes.
It's like it's not even just like to throw a fun show. It's like the fact that, you know, these hundreds of people is like, their lives are in your hands. If you think about it, right? Like,
that's how everyone should look at it, though. That's how I looked at it in the first place. Is it's like, to be an empathetic person is to care about other people. That's number one. And then number two, it's to make sure that if you're the ones that are facilitating space for any other person, to give them that safety before they show up, so that they can feel not just welcome and open to being there, but they can enjoy the things that we've been talking about for the last hour and a half. You know, raving, the good foundational pieces, without worrying that guy who just went because he wanted to get a little tipsy and take a little something and then look at women, like that ruins the vibe for everybody else. Like, it's like, I'm not even saying that in that moment that everyone needs to stop, you know, having, because that's a big part of it too. Raving also includes like the whole rave bae culture. Like, that's a thing, right? Like, it's part of dating, it's part of being young. Like, it's just, it's huge. But like, the rave scene originally wasn't centered around dating and things like that either. Club scene coming into the rave scene made it focus more on finding your rave bae in some capacity, because it became less about the music again. It's like, every person has different, you know, reasons they're in things. But when you're talking about the big things, preventing things from impacting people's livelihood, it is quite literally all something that you can sum down to just being empathetic and knowing that every answer, there's usually like 5 different things that you can do in that place. I'm an OCD girly. I always think way too hard on things. But there's always like 5 things that you can do to help support something when someone brings up some sort of an issue. So like safety being a big one, there's probably 200. It's so simple. So to not do it at all is just not safe.
I just think people, because like you said, raving, or like we've been talking about, right? Raving's become more contemporary, more mainstream. Everybody wants to throw a rave. Like everybody and their mom, like even frat houses are like, hey, oh, how do we market a rave?
King of rave parties at my frat, man.
No, I know you shared that with me, and I was like, but that's like the thing that I've noticed. Like, so I was in a fraternity out here at UW, and our chapter in Arizona has brought out people like Crank Dat before he like blew up. Before he blew up.
There's been big names.
Like they throw raves with like dubstep and like all of those things in those environments. Because it's become so mainstream, everybody, like I said, everybody wants to throw a rave. And also, like, they don't know how to do it.
You and I both know the type of people that go to frat parties.
Oh no, yeah, 100%. Don't.
Like,
yes.
Hey, I also understand that too.
Like,
from my experiences at the UW frats before I went to Western. Yeah.
Like,
and being a former frat boy,
being one of the people being one of the people that was always on the lookout trying to kick people out and stuff like that. Like it's like
yes,
like.
So you're already better than like the 1,800 other dudes that were in that frat though that might not be doing the same thinking of like I'm looking out for other people. It's such a hard thing to force perspective onto people to be like you need to be looking out for other people because again they're thinking about their party. You're talking about they want to throw a rave.
Yeah,
they are just like I get to host, so I get to pick my DJs and I get to have fun and it's mine and everyone who comes like ha 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 I did it. Oh, it's honestly, not though. No, it's not you. It's not. It's everyone. The community makes it. And so when you neglect the community, when you're trying to do something that's for the community, you neglect the thing that's needed, which is ensuring their safety, ensuring they're happy, and ensuring that they can enjoy the thing without worrying about everything else in their life.
And when you provide that, the community gives it back to you.
Absolutely.
Yes, it feels
100%.
and it feels great. Like even at our frat parties now, like it's like like the feedback that we got was like we all felt comfortable and happy here, which is great. Right, and like that's like that's almost easier to do that than it is to just neglect and just be a bad person. Right,
100%.
Like,
well, no, people just don't want to take those steps, and so I think
like,
that's the hardest part with like situations like that too. Even when I made that video, so many people pushing back for what? For what? Me telling them not to party at one spot. Like that's the crazy part about that too. Is like my call to action in that was that the place was docked. So let's give it some time. And by time I don't mean a year. I don't mean 2 weeks. I mean let's wait until like no one knows about this spot again and try again. And even then, you still should have security. You're in the middle of downtown Seattle in the middle of the night. Like there's pieces there when you're not doing it for community first that you don't see until the issue happens. And like that's why all these big event companies keep growing is because they know how to stop all those issues from happening. So they know how to be like, we need a bridge walkway here because this is going to, avoid this issue. Or hey, if we know that this person is going to come through from this side because there's an entrance here and an entrance here, we can't have them meet in the middle. We have to have lines and ropes. And
like Jeff literally built a tunnel under a highway for Lost Lands.
Yes.
Like
oh, I forgot about that. He did that. Yeah, he did do that.
I mean, the Wookland Bridge also still exists, but it's like there's both. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. If you facilitate all those things and you think about all those things, then like I said, the everyone's gonna have a better time. The community is gonna support you. The community realizes what you do for them. We've all thrown shows here. Like it's a pain. It is so much. I've thrown one show. Oh my! I'm still recovering. Oh my god!
It's
a lot, but it's so worth it. It's so worthwhile because the community shows out.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well,
That's so much love.
Oh my gosh, and every person, like we were talking about this before too, every person wants to feel special in some capacity, and that's why raving's fun for a lot of people is that you show up and you don't have to be the center of attention. You could just show up and then you are part of the community already. Like that's the element. And so when we're hosting events in general, like there is all those like big pieces that organizers have to worry about, but that's why you hire security and other things. Like it's like you don't always have to do it all yourself, and you don't always have to be the one thinking about all the things because people have done it before you. There's people that'll do it after you. That's why you network in the community. That's why you get to know people that own other collectives and you learn from their shared experiences. That way the mistake isn't someone losing their life. The mistake is them, having a barricade in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Like it's not as big of an issue, and it doesn't call for ravers' lives to be thrown in the limbo,
Was that the main way you felt backlash after that post, or was there other perspectives?
There's kind of two. So one was, that it wasn't the foundation of raving, and that's a really good point, so I'm glad you brought that up. But the other one was more like, don't dox someone that doesn't have evidence behind them. So you know how we were talking earlier about, don't share this information about this thing that happened because you don't know what actually happened. You haven't spoken to the organizer. You don't know who he is. You don't know his experience. And it's like, you guys, if there's anything that I know from the actually big amount of evidence that I got, I got featured on Fox News, you guys. Like these, I did research before I made this video to ensure that I wasn't just making dumb claims, because even in my caption, if you go back and look at that video, I even wrote in there like, here's the reasons and like all that stuff why. The feedback was like, well, don't share this until you know what happened, or like until you know like why it happened. And it's like, but the thing is that someone who is there to enjoy a free party, to have a good time, died.
Yeah. You don't need to dig past that.
You don't need to dig past that. The person who was there that threw the event is unfortunately the one at fault until you know anything else. And even then, again, they're still going to be at fault in some capacity because they had a weapon get into their event. How did that happen? Again, you were outside in an open space. But again, all these things you could have done to stop that. So it's like, you can't just like ignore it when the mistake is literally life or death.
No, and you touch on like an important thing too about something that I'm thinking about too is like, because you produce short form content, right?
All the time.
You can't, you want the evidence in a minute?
Yeah. That video was
how?
30 seconds.
Yeah,
it was
like
a 30-second video.
How do
Was
you
it-
expect that?
Is that true?
Yeah, the first one.
wow.
I made a second one about the
maybe
full
that's what I'm
thing
thinking of.
later, and that one was longer because I knew people wanted evidence. But even then, I didn't put it in the video because I was warned by one of my lawyer friends to like be intentional about the way I say things. You were talking earlier about you have to be intentional about what you post online, not just for the fact that the platforms can take it down, but also because like if you say something that is an allegation and it's proven false in the future, you can come back for slander. And like that isn't fun as a creator to be like, well, I want to share this information and get out in the world like reporters do everywhere, right? But like the worst thing that can happen to you is a cease and desist.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the other reason to speak up too. And also on top of that, just be intentional about the way you say something. You add allegation in front of everything and you're fine. That is quite literally how you share that information because you don't need the evidence to know that those allegations literally did exist and that there was a task force of people building them. So it's like, yeah, you can't share all the evidence in short form content, and you shouldn't need it when there is so much evidence. Sorry, guys.
People can dig.
It's that simple.
Point them to good resources, I'm sure. And I should say also that the comments that were under both of those videos were overwhelmingly in support of what you were
100%.
saying.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
I know while we're focusing on the other ones.
But those it's the first ones that pop up because they're the ones that got the most engagement because people are like, well, this is not true. And even I'm like, well, that's not true. Like it's weird. But looking at both sides so that you can see that there's two elements. There's the side of like, well, this is against raving. And then there's the other side that's against the person, like you doxing doxing a person. And both sides, I think, are people trying to be empathetic to this situation, but they're doing it in a way that serves their own self-interest. So it completely removes their ability to do the hard work and look behind the scenes and all that stuff, which sucks, but like that's why I do it. That's why I made a follow-up video being like, here are the allegations. Like people need to understand that like it's not just always that first news, but like I had to share it, and that's why I got picked up by Fox News even too. And they even tried to spin it being like, well, the rave scene's dangerous, and I'm like, one thing that I had to tell them to take it down. I had to be like because they put me on the news. And I was like, number one, they asked me, but I never said yes to doing it. I was like, well, would you be using it for this purpose? And then they said no, but then they just used it anyway.
Sounds like Fox News.
Yes. Well, and in the point of doing that too, the long thing or long story short on that is that when they did that, I was like, the reason that I was mad about this is because when you posted about it, you blamed the EDM scene. Like you didn't say that it was, this is a common thing at raves, but you did say that like it was the organizers' fault and that this raving thing has become super popular now and it keeps popping up everywhere. And it's like, so people make comparisons and correlations and they say, actually this bridge rave is the entire rave scene and the entire rave scene's unsafe.
Right.
So I was like, take it down right now.
Good for you. That's awesome.
That's
I did.
good.
I was like, there's no way that you're going to keep me up on a news story that's messed up.
That's awful.
I can find another way to get on the news for a better reason. I'm good.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know very deep things, dark things, but like when we were talking about, this stuff, like, I don't know if you want to get into the details on the situation, but
we can do a little bit of that. I think, because like I said, you do make short form content. This is long form content. I mean, y'all are going to be listening to this for like probably another 2 hours. So it's like,
I want to hear.
So it's like, we'll dive into the nitty gritty. There's always going to be bad apples in every bunch, right? And my thing is this, because I like to walk the middle path of every situation. So like when you make a post like that, right? It's like I do consider the other options. I may not post about them, but I'm like, okay, well, what's the other side of this story?
yeah.
And when I do that, but I do it internally, and I'll do my own research, and I'll like look at all these different things, right? But the one thing that I've always noticed is if an individual or if a group has a history, like you can document the history or a pattern, right? Everything can be correlated to a pattern, right? And if you look at the pattern and track record of like this group that would throw this bridge rave, you'll see that there's something that happens at every single bridge rave that they throw. There are reports of things happening at every single show that throws. Not to mention that there are also reports by multiple people about the head of that agency that would throw these events of allegations against that person. And I'm not even going to give the person like the respect to say their name, but you guys know who it is. I know you do, listening to this podcast, and especially if you've seen Makenna's video.
Yeah.
I have but I have spent some time around this individual and around his circle and his circle includes the people throwing these shows. And the energy, like, cause I'm like a super empath. Like I can feel people's energy, and the energy that I would feel every time I'm around them, I was like, something's off. And for me, it's a thing of like, it's one thing if it's one person saying something, right? Like if I looked at you and said like, oh, you beat me up, but it's only me saying you beat me up, there's more of like, well, did it really happen? But when you've got me, you've got Makenna, you've got, you've got Radiate, you've got Harmony, you've got everybody saying you did that to me or you did that to all of them.
Yeah.
What do you mean, no, it didn't happen?
Yeah.
You know? And going back to the point, because we're talking about sexual assault at this point, going back to what I'd mentioned before, as men, that is right there the prime example of us not listening and us not believing. We are so quick to be like, oh, well, did they really do that to you? Oh, well, did they really do that to you? There are 50 people that have said that you've done this to them and you do not, and all of us are just going to sit here and be like, oh, but did it really actually happen? 50 different people have come out and said that you did this to them. That's the same thing to them. And that not only you, but people in your circle have done the same thing to them. And we're all just going to sit here on our hands and pretend like, no, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're a woman, it didn't happen. And I think that to me is why I'm so frustrated. It happened in the techno scene.
Yeah.
All these people coming to defend these DJs. I'm like, for what?
Why? Yeah.
They've got hundreds of people who have allegations. Wasserman, hundreds of people, allegations against you. We're just sitting here like, you want evidence.
Yeah.
You want data. One allegation versus hundreds of allegations. There's more deniability with one allegation, but there is no deniability with hundreds of allegations.
Very true.
And men, and I'm calling all of us out, men, we need to do better about fucking listening. And I'm grateful that you're here to share your perspective because I've been wanting to say this for such a long time because it is something that is so important to me. Yes, like we just need to listen and we need to believe. You literally just look stupid.
Yeah.
If someone has like thousands, hundreds.
You're not playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
You're
No.
not,
you're
not
you just
looking
look
at
what you
something
did.
from
You're
both
just
sides.
discrediting other people's lived experiences.
Yeah, man.
Traumatic lived
Exactly.
experiences like
Yeah.
that.
Their worst moments.
Yeah.
Truly.
Oh my God. And that's why even like when you're talking about even like deniability in
Yeah.
numbers, we should believe the one.
Yeah.
Hands
Until
down.
there's evidence to support the contrary. Sorry.
Yeah.
That it's the bare minimum because I'm sorry, women don't lie about this shit. They don't.
Why would they?
It's far more likely
They don't.
that
And
they're not lying.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And even in those instances where they could be, like I called out earlier, even in those moments, why would you immediately not believe her?
Yeah.
Why? Why would you immediately go to, well, she's lying. Show me the evidence. Then we can make a decision. But for
100%.
now, I'm going to make the executive choice like I'm really grateful they're doing in the techno scene.
Yeah.
And they're cutting the ties for the moment. Because
Yeah.
why wouldn't they? There's this really, really intense allegation about many of them. And so it's like, well, why not pull it back? That's the easy thing to do, right? Like, we're not saying that they're already wrong, but what we are saying is we're going to wait for the evidence. We're going to have it roll out. And then when it's proven later, because again, women have spoken up about these things, we will know. But like, the worst that you do is you distance yourself and then you apologize later to the artist that it happened in the format that it did, and that's it. You don't even apologize for making the choice because we owe that to women.
Yeah. No,
That's
that's
about
the right
it.
move
Sorry.
to do. With the information we have now, this is the right way to proceed. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's not even, people will be like, well, it's innocent until proven guilty. Correct. Correct. But guess what? If you keep someone who's guilty in a position of power, i.e. in a position like the DJ booth where everyone is directed towards them, or in a position like as an organizer where everyone is indebted to that person because they're paying them the money, they're making that, and they're spending it elsewhere on whatever they else do in their lives, you have to remember everything's a domino effect. So it's like if the leaders are not following the things that everyone in the group should be doing, they shouldn't be in the group.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so simple. And again, people will be like, well, you're destroying someone's livelihood. And it's like, well, they destroyed someone's livelihood.
Yeah.
You know what women go through after they go through sexual assault? They go through a lot of periods of thinking it's their fault.
Oh my God, yeah.
We've been conditioned our whole lives into thinking it's our fault. You're told when you're young that it's what you wear. You guys were at raves. We're talking about the times where people are wearing literally like G-strings to shows. Like, that's fine because it's part of the scene. But because a woman is wearing a G-string doesn't give the guy that's behind her and rolling tits it doesn't give him the ability to say, I can touch her now because she's like that.
Oh my
But
God.
that's what the world has told everybody they're supposed to feel like because, well, it's her fault. She's the one that is wearing the skimpy clothing. And it's like,
She wants the attention. She wants
no,
blah, blah.
but what even is wrong about that? That's what makes it even worse. It's like, just let people live and stop pretending like you have any entitlement to their space. And again, what you're doing right now, talking about listening, really putting the nail on the head on that one and focusing on telling all men to do that is just supporting women a little bit more than we've done in the past. There's so many methods that you can do to like support women. It's not just like listening. It's again just taking the steps to be like, I'm gonna hear you out and believe you first and then move on. But in the obviously long form, as a woman in the scene and experiencing this stuff every day, like we just want to know that we're safe and we want to know that we can enjoy the spaces that you all get to enjoy. And like the patriarchy has just told us that we aren't allowed to do that for a very long time. And I mean, you can even go far back to even say like up until the 20s, 30s, like women didn't have anything up until the 70s. They couldn't even own their own bank account. Like you can't imagine the like institutionalized patriarchal standards that are stuck in our heads when it's based on like a teacher telling us once that we need to smile because we're intimidating. That did in fact happen to me in my MBA program.
In your MBA program?
Didn't say it to anyone else. I had a professor, and I can remember his name. I'm not going to dox him obviously either, but he literally emailed me after my final presentation that I got a 100% on in my leadership class because I'm a leadership girly. He literally goes, I have one piece of feedback, and it's that you looked a little intimidating up there. You should smile more. He didn't say that to any of the guys.
Deaf.
That happens all the time. And we've been told that for years. We're told that we have to be meek, but we can't be so meek that we can't, stand up and talk and advocate and be there for people. And it's like, stop giving women double standards because those double standards are built on double standards that men built for themselves. Like, it's just, we have to break that down. Yeah. It's part of breaking down the patriarchy, and to the people that are like, oh, we don't need to do that stuff. It's already happening. It's like, no, it's not, because it's still built in our brains.
It's already happening? What does that mean?
It's like, it's already happening in this way because, the systems have already been in place for forever. Yes, let's destroy them. What? Let's start telling young women that they have every ability to stand up and say the things that happen to them in life and have their own bodily autonomy to know that those things are things that should never happen to them.
Yes. Never second guess that. Never question that.
Never once. Never once. Because why is it and I'm being very open here, when I got sexually assaulted in college, why was my first thing that I thought in my head that it was my fault? Why?
That shouldn't be it.
Yeah, of course.
So when we're thinking about long term, especially talking about going to raves, going to events and stuff, those spaces are safe. In essence, right? Like we're talking about there's things you have to do as organizers, yes. Yeah. But they're safe in an essence. And then you throw in this kind of ideal of like, now there's two different types of entities of people, and we're talking very standard gender norms, right? Yeah. There's men and women, and then, all of everyone else that is there, non-binary people, like that, those are the typical standards that we align our social values to. If the men are there and they're not listening to the women that are there having those experiences in that safe space, then those unsafe things keep happening. And then you keep taking that to the next level of like, what if they just keep letting it happen around them? Then women don't feel safe anymore, and they stop feeling like they have the ability to enjoy the one thing that we all have to escape this world, and that's dancing and music. Yeah. So you're telling me that now women who have been conditioned their whole lives shouldn't listen to good music and dance just because there's someone that could be ruining their night in the background, and they have to be the ones to think about that all the time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's the lived experience of a woman in the rave scene. And it's not even, again, standard to the rave scene. This is life. Yes. This is everywhere.
I think toxic masculinity in general for guys leads to them not being empathetic, not being able to be like, being empathetic is viewed as being feminine, and being feminine is very bad. Like it's certainly not anything we can do.
And why?
Be feminine. Yeah, that's insane. I really I would advise anyone to just, I don't know, listen to women's experiences, read books by women, just follow women on Instagram, just listen to fucking women a little bit more and understand that so many people have what you were talking about.
For real. And go to therapy. I would also like to note on top of that, because women have been carrying the mental load for a very long time of being the ones to be like, here's how you all should think, when we're the ones constantly like, it's funny because people say the natural motherhood is in existence in every woman. And in some capacity, maybe, but I also think that just depends on how you're raised. And I think a lot of it has to do with empathy, because when we're children, again, we're told to be meek and quiet. And that leads to us, there's fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. Yeah. I'm a fawner, which means that instead of me running away from the threat or trying to go against it, I try and make myself small to appease it. And that's just how my life has conditioned me. And a lot of women are in that same spot a lot, because they don't want to have, again, issues of like, they've been told their whole lives that if they yell at a man and they yell back, that it's the worst thing ever, it's their fault, and they're the ones that caused all these issues in their relationship because they're not like letting men do their thing. Like, again, these are all like, they sound crazy, but there's things that have been being told to us for forever. So it's like, in the long run, if we don't look at the kind of broader spectrum that is a woman's lived experience outside of that too, and take into account therapy and the things that we've been told since we were a kid. Show up for other people, be empathetic, you know, clean up the stuff on the floor when you see it, because that's your responsibility to constantly be thinking about other people, because you're gonna have to do it as a mom someday. Then we need men to also understand that that's something that they also need to naturally do. And it's not on women to naturally do those things. And that, I mean, that plays into everything. Life, raving, like just standard gender norms. Like not everything is something that a woman does or a man does anymore.
No,
and so
100%.
why do we treat it that way?
Like,
no need for it.
Like we're all humans. We're all humans before we're like men or women. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's
Well put.
that simple. And
Like-
we all have
Well
this
put.
like obligation to just show up for people in our lives. And it's like, well, why can't we just do it the same way that we do it with our best, you know, girlfriends or with guys to your guy friends? Like, why can't you give the same sort of intention to other people? And again, it's like just double standards and things. I don't know. I can go on about this.
Yeah,
No,
for
it's-
sure.
It's just a lot. And like it's, I think a lot of it, again, I'm going to say does like stem from men, like thinking empathy is a form of weakness, which is just absolutely insane. Try and step in other people's shoes. You'll be surprised. And like, I'm surprised. I'm awfully surprised all the time. Like I saw a post of like by support women DJs, I think, just being like, yeah, women should never feel scared to go to work. And like it showed DJs like some people don't feel safe while they're, you know, DJing. And that never crossed my mind.
No.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. And like, I it's just good. Just see other people's perspectives, see women's perspectives. You'll become more empathetic naturally. You'll be able to like understand what's going on, the reality of what's actually happening, instead of you know, assuming women are trying to manipulate us, like lying. Like what is this?
Part of the other toxic masculinity aspect is we have to be the breadwinner. We have to be the head of the house. We have to carry the weight of everything. When in reality, listen, I'm a Christian and there's so much to be said about Christianity too, but like that pushes that narrative. But let's be real. Let's be real about it. It is a partnership. Marriage is a partnership. Relationships are a partnership, right? What does that mean? You are a unit and you work together. It's not like I carry all the weight and you do your own. No. We work together as a team. And so when you start to alienate the other side of that team, nothing gets done.
Yeah.
You're alienating half your team, the person on your team. This is insane.
Well, and that's why even now, in relating this to the EDM scene, people, you know, I get feedback sometimes about like, because the Rave Fam, when we originally like obviously established as a collective, I made a video being like, I really want to book diverse lineups, because the thing is that adding a mission to your, you know, I guess a standard to your mission overall, that you're going to do it ensures that you do it and ensures that you are supporting people in more than just like, I'm adding a woman as an opener. No, we are featuring and focusing on women and queer individuals. That's the goal. And it's because we obviously haven't seen those people be featured as much as men for a very long time. And if you think about it from that perspective with the EDM industry overall, and we're talking about, oh, you know, women have these things. I'll tell you right now that every event that I've been to that's been planned, and this is not meant to sound weird to you guys, but has been planned 100% by a man, is lacking some things, right? And this is, it sounds weird, but this is the most obvious one. I've been to many raves planned entirely by men that don't have any tampons or any sort of, you know, things in the bathroom for women who happen to be menstruating. Y'all, that's the most natural part of life. It's been taxed for women. So to have a period, if you are a period-having person, you have
The
a
female
tax.
tax,
So you're telling me that if you're going to plan this whole thing and it's going to be for the community and it's open, that you didn't even think about making sure that those were free in the bathroom, or at least throwing down a few just in case there were a few women that might need them. It's like the issue lies within the blindness to the things that they are like. I think in general, some men are just not open to like understanding in women. There's a lot of demonization of like women being women. Again, periods have been demonized. Again, they're taxed even, and you considered dirty in things like why? It's a part of our human bodies. And I love that you mentioned religion too, because I used to be religious. My first community I ever found in life, after I did my little theater stint when I was in high school, was Young Life. And it taught me that people can be very fake and can have this ideal that's supposed to be beautiful, like PLURR, peace, love, unity, respect, responsibility. Show up for your community, show up for your people, love, be open, be honest, be kind. And then they could still say something like what my old Young Life leader said to me, which was, we want gay kids here because we want to change them and show them the error of their ways. That is quite literally why I quit Young Life.
Good on you.
That is why I quit Young Life. He said that to my face in front of students. So that was an experience. And what I'll flag to end that is that it's like, if we're going to invalidate people's lived experiences at events, and we're not going to take into consideration exactly what you said, the people that are doing the invalidating, of other people's experiences, then we are quite literally putting the entire burden again on women to fix the problem, because that's what we've been forced to do for forever. And it's like,
they'll figure it out.
Yeah,
they'll figure it out.
We have. That's the thing. We've gotten so far, and it's like we're finally reaching, I think, this good precipice in the world, and social media has helped so much. And I think it's, everything's still, there's a lot to change, but we've reached a point where at least the conversation is now that accountability is where it lives. That's where it sits, is that it can't just be like it happens or it doesn't. There has to be that accountability, and then hopefully change will come.
Well put.
100%. Like, the one question I always get is, why do women hate us? And I said,
oh my God.
I said,
who says that?
That's intense.
Who are you talking to? Bring them in. We need to interview them next.
It's funny because we brought up religion. It's like, I actually just changed my church, because one of my churches was, I grew up very indoctrinated by a specific type of doctrine and by a very specific interpretation of Christianity and of the Bible that is very, very, like, MAGA coded, very conservative. And so all I've ever known is the Southern Baptist interpretation of the Bible. And for the most part, I still adhere to a lot of it. But when it comes to these social topics, and I work in social work, and I work in these spaces, and I work with individuals who are the minority, who are oppressed, who are... Yeah. Her voices are just not heard or listened to. It's like, okay, well, there's some nuance, right? And I can still believe one thing and still believe another thing. So I go to a different church now that focuses more on just loving people. And that is all I ever wanted from a church. Yeah. It's like, this is our job, right? I would tell my dad all the time, because, I grew up in the church, so he's religious. And I tell him, he was like, well, why do you go to raves? If we want to bring it back to raving, it's like, everything the church, me growing up, everything that I was taught growing up in the Bible never once happened for me at a church.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I go into the rave scene, and for once in my entire life, I feel heard, I feel seen, I feel listened to, and I can express myself the way I want to express myself. And everybody else around me is doing the same exact thing. And then, I go to church and they say they're that way, but it is the complete opposite.
Yes.
The complete and utter opposite. And so all I ever wanted from a church was for a church that loves people the way that we are told that we are loved by God.
Yeah, 100%.
And why is it that the rave scene does so much better at it sometimes than churches? Because the churches that do it, like the one that I have found, are so far and few in between.
Yeah.
And to me, that is what I think is so important. Because people always say, how can you be a Christian and go to raves? And I was like, do you know, well,
it's the foundation.
My friend gave me this on your microphone. My friend gave me that candy. It says Jesus raves too.
Oh, no way. Oh, that's cute.
Because I just think, like, I'm also someone who likes to think a lot, and then obviously in a philosophy and stuff like that. And I look at, like, from a philosophical lens, the way, like, Jesus's, like, ministry was, right? And I'm just like, look at the very first people that he would always go to. It was never the people of privilege. It was always the people who were oppressed. Yeah. And why is it that the major theme that is coded throughout the entire Bible is what?
Love.
Love, but love who? Love the oppressed. Yeah. Love the brokenhearted. Love those who cannot maybe even love themselves, right? And that includes our queer friends. That includes women. Even if you want to go and say the whole thing of, like, I believe being gay is a sin. At the end of the day, who cares? Because we all sin.
Yes.
So what? They don't get to go to heaven because they sin? Well, neither do you then.
Yep.
So it's like, in my mind, I'm just like, back to what you said, right? Before anything, before our sexuality, before our behaviors, before our gender, before anything and everything that we ever do, what are we?
Humans.
And religiously, I'll take it a step further, humans created in the image of God. So if you want to, this is becoming a sermon now.
Ooh, yeah.
But I like fire and brimstone right here. But it's like, but I'm just getting at, and so yeah, I just like, that is why this is so important to me.
Yeah.
And why I wanted to bring you on, right? And like why I appreciate you having you guys, right? And just the greater rave scene in general, because this is that safe space to talk about this. Yes. Church is not.
Nope.
Fair.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's really beautiful the way that you said that, because I mean, even to just bring us home in some capacity on the Rave Fam side of things, like that is what changed my perspective of myself as a human. It's what gave me the confidence, the rave scene, the way that it treats, like the way that you're explaining it to religion. Because again, I did the same thing where it's like I did religion and then you didn't leave it, but I left it for a while.
Oh, I did too.
Oh, no way. Okay, yeah. So same experiences. You leave it and then you're like, but the foundation is the same. And then you meet the rave community and you're like, well, these people don't need some book to tell them how to think. They just do it because they're part of that broader community. It's like, I literally made a TikTok the other day that I was like, I've always been a weird kid. Or like kids in junior high were making fun of me. Makenna, you're so weird. And then as I get older, I'm like, correct. And all of the weird kids build the best community and throw the best parties.
Yeah, thank God.
Yes.
Yeah, because thank God that there's some space in there in the world to be like, be weird.
Yes.
Just express yourself. Like,
Yes.
don't feel like you have to be a part of society. And I did that for so long. I mean, I stayed so specific to this image of myself I had in my head that I did not even know existed until I got to the rave scene and said, wow, that thing that's in the back of my head that I thought was me is not me at all.
Yes.
Wow.
Because everything that I've learned about how to be a human has now been represented in the way in which people in the rave scene look at each other, they speak to each other, they care for each other, they show up for each other, you know, they express themselves to each other. It's a very different experience, and the fact that it's rooted in something so basic as like escapism is also really powerful in an essence, because we connect through everything that we talk about, dance, music, all that stuff, friendship, all that jazz. But like the fact that it's built in the system that didn't even necessarily come about except for the people were like, we should probably just put a name to it. Like it already existed and it was just living in the scene in the 90s until someone said peace, love, unity, respect, and responsibility, not even the second R until recently. But like that's important because it means that those systems can exist without someone having to get breathed down on their neck by some pastor or, you know, God in an essence, them saying you have to be a better person and you have to express yourself and be open and caring and kind and all that jazz. It's lovely. And the Rave Fam is a pure definition of that. And I'm so grateful.
Keep
That's
it weird.
amazing.
Keep
Keep
it
it
weird.
Oh,
weird.
you gotta be weird.
You gotta be
You
weird.
want to be like I found that too. Like the rave scene here just emphasizes be your most true self and find that most true self through the process.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'll tell you right now, I'm a very different human than I was when I started posting on TikTok 5 years ago. I guess now 6 years ago. It's 2026. I did a lot of things just for the sake of like, well, I made this content. I hope people like it. Like I'll post it. And now I'm like, let me literally be the most like crazy version of myself. I'm posting stuff online, and that's why I'm grateful y'all reached out to me off of those videos too. Those were things that I was just like, I need to post this. I need to. And then it actually like works. And some of those things are the same where I like post harm reduction stuff, but around like how to do peace, love, unity, respect, responsibility trades with people when you're doing trading candy, or like how to get people help when they're hot in the crowd, like things like that. And it sounds so cheesy when you look at it from that upper perspective, but it all ties into that kind of core concept of like doing that keeps the scene going. So the Rave
100%.
Fam can help, you know, make that happen by ensuring that there's 800 more people that can do the same exact format, and everyone who's a new solo raver gets that same experience to do the same thing for everybody else.
That is very powerful.
Longevity.
Truly.
Longevity is our goal.
Very, very powerful.
Yes. Thanks.
Yes.
I have a question that I asked last time. I think I want to ask it like every time, if you're cool with it.
Yeah, we'll do that to round it out.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, Makenna.
Cool.
So tell me. So this is a two-parter. One's like the typical, all right.
I love this.
What would you tell your younger self if you could go back to, you know, I don't know, whenever is in your mind right now? And also, second part, what would that younger self tell you? And like, I'm not asking like, oh, like, would they be happy with you or just like, what would they remind you to do or to be?
Ooh. So wait, sorry. The first part's what you would tell your younger self. Ooh, a couple things. Never conform. I feel like that was just an easy thing for me to do when I got bullied a lot. You know, I was bullied my entire life, theater kid status. It's just people make fun of the things they don't understand. I get it now, but I didn't back then. Don't conform ever is number one. Number two, I would say that you can be your most weird and authentic self and people will love you, because God, no one told me that. I mean, I will say that my parents obviously made me feel absolutely loved and cared about, and they would repeat things like that to me. But you know, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, I don't want to listen to my parents. Like, they're not right. So I would tell, that like it's going to happen at some point, because if you keep believing in it and manifesting it and you put yourself in those situations to meet people that would do that for you, you're going to. So that's another element. And then I think probably third and the biggest one, just express yourself. Just express everything about your weird inner workings of your head. We were just talking about keeping it weird. I'm covered in tattoos now. Before the pandemic, I had none. I'm covered in tattoos. I wear clothing I never thought that I'd be able to wear in public. I used to be very buttoned up. A lot of like very classic, like if you look on TikTok type standard girl, you know, year over year Sheen type stuff. And now I get to like thrift and find my favorite things, and I make art now, actual art. Like I used to do art all the time, but work became more of a focus. So like all these things change. So expressing yourself, does mean not just like going to raves and stuff, but it also means like showing up for your friends, like speaking up when you feel like you want to speak up. Like those are all really important things. So I would tell my younger self all of those elements. Yeah. And if my younger self was coming back to tell me something, I think she'd say probably two things. Number one, I told you so, on the don't conform and keep expressing yourself and doing all that stuff. Because I was weird. I was such a weird kid. I was the one that in the middle of dance, like in the middle of lunch, I'd be making a dance routine during junior high. Like this is when people were all like, oh my God, we don't want to be seen like that. Like boys are looking at us weird. And I'm just like, ooh, we should make like a dance to Hakuna Matata from The Lion King because I want to be in that musical. And I would with my twin sister and my friends. And God, I wish I would have listened to myself back then. It would have been a longer process or a lot shorter process to figuring out who I am. But that's one piece. And then the other piece is I think she'd tell me, you're cooler than I ever thought you'd be. And I think that's because when I was a kid, society really did force me into thinking that like I was going to be this like little theater nerdy kid the rest of my life. And that sounds so crazy because it's such a stereotype, but like it was validated by everyone who made fun of me. All of the guys that used me in high school, like it happened. Like it was a thing. And it's crazy because I think my younger self for a long time, she still sits in my head. I feel like I'm 16 a lot of the time. Like I don't think I aged past like 17 in my head, but like I'm growing up and I'm maturing, you know? And I think that she would think that if anything, I'm cool because I'm doing everything that I said that I wanted to do when I was a kid, just in a different way. So I'm going to accept that and I'll cut it there because otherwise I'll just keep rambling.
No, that's amazing.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's a great question, though, too. And I'll say, even with the rave stuff, my little young version of myself never would have thought listening to Cinema by Benny Benassi, Skrillex remix, would be the first song that I listened to when I started my professional career. I wish I was kidding. I wrote it on a sheet of paper that was like, who would have thought when you were 14 that you'd be listening to this song on your first day of work as a 21-year-old at your first corporate job? Like,
amazing.
Yeah. You never know what's going to happen in life, but if you believe those things that I said of like, you're cool, and you literally just you force yourself to believe it your whole life, it's going to be a lot easier for you to feel confident and like be able to do the things you want because you believe yourself first over everyone else.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
Takes a long time to get there.
A long time. And that's why I'm like, dang, she was right back then.
She was right. Yeah,
we
already knew. We
It's
already knew.
Society forced me into thinking that I was being weird for being me. And obviously, like to the people that did that back then and stayed weird, good on you. And, you know, props. I wish I could have followed their lead.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's such a good question. I like every time I love that question. Thank you for rounding us out. Yeah, I want to be respectful of time. But before we go, I just want to give you one last chance to shout out anything and everything that you've got coming on. You too, Pranay, because I know you do Rave Fam stuff as well. For you guys to shout out anything coming up with the Rave Fam in April, specifically just because that's when this will drop. But yeah, anything exciting?
No, I'm just like excited to be here, just posting again. You know, like you know, on the producer side of things. You know,
cool.
Finally got like my brand and everything all done. My new aesthetic's gonna be kind of done by probably like next week for my
awesome
profile and everything.
I'm stoked. I've seen some of your pictures.
Dude,
your EPK you were putting together
like
yesterday
the
looks
press
sick.
shots. Oh my god!
Yeah, man,
it's so good.
My boy's popping off.
Yeah.
No, it's been a really long journey to get here. You know, I'm sure we'll talk more. It's like that the podcast, but you know,
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Dude, good. Congrats.
But we got to follow you along in that journey, which is cool.
Yeah,
Amen.
It's been a tough one, but
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Excited to see those too. But yeah, for the Rave Fam on my side of things, so the Rave Fam has a meetup on April 25th, I believe, for Pantera 666 at Q Nightclub. That one's going to be really fun, so just come through and hang out with us. It's pop-in and drop-in type vibes. You can join the Discord for that too, so definitely hit up the Discord for the Rave Fam. You can also follow us at @the_Rave_Fam on Instagram. But beyond that, I will say we are talking about some events in May and June, so as long as you do follow us on social media, you'll know what's happening next. And I'm trying to think of anything else to promote. Listen to my show, Beyond the Rave Fam, on Mondays on C89.5.
Yes, shout out.
Shout out from 11 to 1 p.m. I'm here in the station, and I'm talking about PLURR, EDM news, harm reduction, you know, awareness, things like that. It's really fun. And beyond that, just follow me on my socials. You can follow me at Makenna Marie Boop on TikTok.
Sweet. Yes. And that's all we got for y'all today. Thank you for coming on the side quest. And we definitely took a side quest.
Yeah, a couple.
But yeah, thank you again for coming.
Thank you for having me, you guys.
Yes.
I appreciate it. It was really fun.
You were awesome.
Thank you for all the work that you've already put in. It's amazing. Thank you again for your questions. And guys, this has been so fun for me. I'm just going to say this to round it out. I never thought I would bring this podcast back. I was so burnt out and so dead, and I've said this so many times, but like to be where I'm at now has been so. I'm just grateful. I'm really grateful.
Right on,
and now I understand the sentiment that a lot of artists in the past that I've had on the show said, where it feels like it's a therapy session, because it does. And
It does.
so, yeah, thank you for everybody, for you side questers, for the Greater Rave community, for PNW, for Makenna, for Pranay, for you and everybody. You know, this has been awesome, and we got another one planned for May. It'll be a fun one. We'll see you there.
Bye.
Peace.
Peace.